Trustee Zalick.
Here.
Trustee LaRocca.
Here.
Trustee Geezer.
Here.
Trustee Frusaloni.
Here.
Trustee Schwarze.
Here.
Trustee McCarthy.
Here.
Mayor Severino.
Here. Please stand and face the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Their motion to approve our minutes of November 4th, 2019 Village Board meeting.
So moved.
Second?
Moved by Trustee Geezer, seconded by Trustee Frusaloni. Clerk, call the roll.
Trustee Zalick.
Aye.
Trustee LaRocca.
Aye.
Trustee Geezer.
Aye.
Trustee Frusaloni.
Aye.
Trustee Schwarze.
Abstain.
Trustee McCarthy.
Under listening posts, we have a check presentation today for DARE. And the program is, the check will be from George Salerno, Salerno's Funeral Home, Rosedale Chapel on Lake Street. Mr. Salerno, would you please come up?
Good evening, Mayor Severino, village trustees, village staff. Well, I'm sad to be here tonight because I'm not here with my dad, who normally presents this check. I'm honored to be here in order to present the check to the DARE program. Every January, we sit down as a family and decide how we're going to try and impact the community or make a donation. And DARE and Carroll Stream is always first on our list. And so it is with great pleasure that I bring a check to you for your DARE program.
Well, I know it's been a tradition. This goes back with your dad quite a ways. And I think you give Glendale Heights a check and us a check, and we're the only two left in the area that has a DARE program.
Yes.
So from us to you, we say thank you for our police department. The DARE program has been very successful. We follow it real close. We do a abbreviated DARE program for the southeast side of Carroll Stream because Wheaton does not have a DARE program. So we do it for the summertime. It's an abbreviated program where the chief and fire, police department, myself, some of the trustees, if they come out, whoever wants to come out, we actually feed them in the morning, all the kids that are in the program, and then they pack them all up and they take them off someplace to some kind of like a picnic type thing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's pretty nice. But again, you help fund a lot of that and we appreciate it. So do you have a check to present tonight?
Yes, I do.
Would you come up here and take a picture with us?
Yes, sir.
Would you get a picture?
All right. 1, 2, 3. And one more. 1, 2, 3.
Thank you, Mr. Salerno. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We also have a surprise guest here tonight, Mr. Hildebrand. Somebody said you have a check for us too, for Christmas sharing.
Yes, we do. While we're going to be called up here.
Get to the, come on, so people know who you are. Come on.
The podium there.
Thank you. We appreciate this,
If
please.
I had known I would have been called up here in an official capacity, I would have worn my VFW uniform as commander of the post. We've been involved with the Christmas sharing through Cotton Ford for a couple of years. And I remembered about it, we were at the meeting last early part of the month. And I thought, let's give it directly to the village. And so we had a meeting and we took care of that right away. So I would like to present a check to the village for the Christmas sharing program on behalf of Carroll Stream VFW 10396 post.
Come around. Would your wife like to come up? Jacket on.
1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2, 3. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bless you.
And if anybody here doesn't know what they just presented for the Christmas sharing program, our social services unit for, how many, 25 years, longer than that? It's been a very long time that they run our program to make sure families who can't are able to have a Christmas. Not just with some groceries, but also with toys, a visit from Santa. The kids get to go home with presents, even some adults, they get something. So it's a way for social services to make sure everybody has a chance to have a holiday, even in tough times. So it's a huge program, and then it's all done by donations. So thank you to the VFW for helping.
And I believe registration for families that are in need is ongoing right now.
Yes.
Sorry.
Okay, under listening posts, we have addresses from the audience. We have Warren Prescott. Oh, proclamation, I'm sorry. I missed that. I scratched it off because you got it now. Okay, I'm going to turn this over to trustee Swarzy.
Thank you very much, sir. This is a proclamation designating November 30th, 2019 as Small Business Saturday. Whereas the Village of Carroll Stream celebrates our local small businesses and the contributions they make to our community. And whereas, according to the United States Small Business Administration, there are currently 28.8 million small businesses in the United States. They represent 99.7% of all new businesses with employees in the United States, are responsible for 63% of net new jobs created over the past 20 years. And whereas, on average, 33% of consumers' holiday shopping will be done at small, independently owned retailers and restaurants. And whereas 76% of all consumers plan to go to one or more small businesses as part of their holiday shopping. And whereas the Village of Carroll Stream supports our local businesses that create jobs, boost our local economy, and preserve our neighborhoods. And whereas advocacy groups, as well as public and private organizations across the country, have endorsed the Saturday after Thanksgiving as Small Business Saturday. Therefore, be it proclaimed that Mayor Frank Savarino Sr. and the Board of Trustees of Carroll Stream, DuPage County, Illinois, in the exercise of its home rule powers, does hereby designate November 30th, 2019 as Small Business Saturday in Carroll Stream, and encourages residents to support small businesses and merchants on Small Business Saturday and throughout the year. Proclaim this 18th day of November, 2019.
Thank you, trustee Swarzy. Now we can get to addresses from the audience on the listening post, not the public hearing. We'll get into that next. Warren Prescott? Is Warren Prescott here? Would you take the podium, please?
Yes. Here, on the one particular item, the in the presence of Jesus proposed text amendment. That's the only thing I'm here on this evening. And I wish to speak in favor of it. It's already been before the zoning board. There's already been many, many discussions. It's going to fit right in with supporting local businesses. We have vacancies in that complex right now. They're going to take one of these spots and have a religious institution there, which will have a spillover effect, no doubt, to the local businesses and restaurants. And there's already been thorough discussion of all the parking spots, 132 parking spots, which will be available for everybody that needs to be at the church. They figure it's only about 28 spots they may need. They're only using 17 at their current location in Carroll Stream where they rent a location. Now they want to have a permanent home. So I'd like to reserve any further comments to the opposition that I believe will be here this evening, if I may.
Fine.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Prescott. Now we go to the public hearing. Okay. Is there a motion to open public hearing?
So moved.
Second?
Moved by trustee McCarthy, seconded by trustee Swarzy. Clerk, call the roll.
Trustee Zalik.
Aye.
Trustee LaRocca.
Aye.
Trustee Giesert.
Aye.
Trustee Frusloni.
Aye.
Trustee Schwarzy.
Aye.
Trustee McCarthy.
Aye.
The purpose of this property tax increase for the Village of Carroll Stream, DuPage County, Illinois, pursuant to 35 ILCS 200/1870, public notice of the proposed 2019 property tax increase was published in the November 6, 2019 edition of the Examiner of Carroll Stream. Mr. Rhodes, is that correct?
That is correct, Mr. Mayor. There was a public notice as required by the mentioned state statute. That public notice did appear in the Examiner on November 6, 2019. Copy is in your packet of materials and will be placed of record with respect to this public hearing.
Mr. Rhodes, is this the copy you're talking about?
Yes, sir.
Is that the same, do they have that in the back, the same as what we have? So if anybody wanted to see it, we'll make a copy available. Mr. Baytek, would you like to say, a few words of why we're here?
Well, certainly, Mayor. The purpose of the proposed property tax for the village, and this also includes the library, but I believe most of the folks here are here to discuss the village's first levy in probably more than 40 years. In a nutshell, it's really needed to compensate for revenues, reductions in other village revenue sources, really to maintain service levels throughout the community, and ultimately to ensure and secure the village's 5-year capital improvement program.
Thank you. So with that, the public hearing, we're going to allow, we usually allow 3 minutes. I'm going to allow 5, and if we really have to, we'll go a little longer. And the first speaker tonight is going to be Dominic Jeffries.
I've been told that this property tax is due to the fact for pensions and whatever. And I'm just wondering, because I've been told we can't kick the can down the road any further, how long is it going to be before we have to kick the can again? Well, another property tax. Because there's been a lot of foreclosures here in town. They seem to be taxing people out of their homes. Just need an answer.
You need an answer
Yeah.
for what you just asked that question?
Yeah.
I'm not that familiar with how many foreclosures you're talking about. Do we have a number for foreclosures? You heard kick the can down the road from me?
No,
and-
not from you, Frank.
Yes, you did. I talked to
Yeah.
you in the back, you and Mike Wade, and I said, when you said property tax, I got the attitude you had. We're friends. I know
know.
you when you speak. I mean, we've been friends for a long time. We could survive another year, maybe 2, but it won't last. I mean,
Well, if
the world we live in today is different than the world we've been in. This is the electronic highway, I call it. People order everything online. Businesses are closing down. In case anybody hasn't gone down North Avenue and saw what's happening there, if it wasn't for the new restaurant that's on North Avenue, that whole shopping center, other than the show, would be just about gone. Stratford Square is a shell of what it used to be. People don't shop like they used to shop. They shop online. People don't have phones in their house anymore like they used to have. We have a utility tax. We lose money on that. I'm going to give you the reasons why we're doing what we're doing. People are putting solar panels on. We have a number, I don't know what it was, 80, 70?
About 100 this year total.
100. Every time somebody puts solar panels on their roof, their meter runs backwards, not forwards, most of the time. So we don't get a utility tax. We lived off all those things. We've had businesses in the industrial park move their billing departments, not them, but their billing departments, which we lost a lot of money on. And there's no way we can, they're still here, but we don't get any money. We've had some businesses that wanted to expand and couldn't because we really don't have a lot of land left here. We lost people like Ditch Witch. We lost a few other, I don't really want to give you their names. Aldi's is one. Everybody said you should have kept them. We did everything we could to keep Aldi's here. We couldn't give them what they wanted. That was the restaurant in front. That doesn't belong to us. The person that owned it want more money than what it was worth. They walked away from it and left. They should have probably never sold them the building to begin with, and that piece of property, then they could have expanded and stayed in Carroll Stream. I don't think they really wanted to leave, but they couldn't live with that footprint anymore. It reminds me of the old Clark stations, where the guys sat in there 24 hours a day, pumped gas, sold gas cans and battery cables and cigarettes, but they're obsolete today. Today, you look at what's coming in, they're like supermarkets. So, I mean, the state took a lot of money away from us. They gave us back part of it like they did us a favor. I mean, you take my money and give me back part of it, that's like doing me a favor. In the condition the state's in right now, they're after our pension money. I mean, what could I say? This isn't the same world we lived in 10, 15 years ago. This is different today.
Well, you're sort of telling me it's gonna get worse before it gets better, huh?
We're going to try and make it not to get worse before it gets better. And I know what a lot of people are concerned with. A lot of people are concerned that we're going to put a property tax on this year, and then we're going to come back down next year, and we're going to come back again next year. We're trying to do this to try and be proactive to get ahead of the game, so we can continue to do the streets the way they have to be done, continue to provide police service that we do. I've had people tell me, and they get me on the side, and they go, you need to get rid of social services. You need to get rid of your dare officer. You need to get, this is not what this town is. I'm not getting rid of the social service department. There's anybody up here that wants to get rid of them. When their kids being abused or somebody gets killed in their family and they need help, what am I going to send them to the county? I know we do things that are a little different than a lot of other towns. You know, the questions come up, and I've heard you mention, am I past the 5 minutes yet? Because he was done like in 30 seconds. I'm on a roll because, I'm sorry, Mr. Jeffries, do you have anything else you want to talk about?
No.
Thank you. Thank you for your concern, believe me. Mike Wade.
Thank you for this opportunity to address the board. I do have concerns also about this property tax. Looking at the fiscal 2019-2020 budget, I look down and I see a sales tax. Carroll Stream gets about $7 million in sales tax, $5 million in home rule sales tax, $1 million in local use tax. We have a hotel tax. We have an income tax of $4 million. We have electricity use tax of about $2 million, and natural gas tax, and it just keeps tax. And it's like we have 14 different taxes, 10 different types of permit fees, 17 service fees, 10 fines and forfeits types of revenue, interest revenue, and 5 other revenue sources. You know, when you come to the citizens and ask us for a property tax, and yet I look back 2 years and I look at what the administration cost for this village was around $274,000, and today it's $441,000. That's a 60% increase in 2 years. Looking at the revenue increase, you get revenues about $52 million, and your expenses are about $54 million. That's only a 4% difference. That's something that's very manageable, because when I look at the treasurer's report, you began at $116 million, and you ended up at $114.9 million. Why do you need a tax when you've got $114.9 million in the bank? It doesn't make any sense to me.
You tell me where that money's at? We have 114 million in the bank?
That's what all your funds add up to?
Well, yeah.
Well, where is it?
It's not correct.
John?
That's not correct.
Where's the
You
money?
need to show me your math.
It's not mad, it's on the village treasurer's report.
May I see it?
Yeah.
Mike, I'll love you if you're right, I tell you that. This meeting will be over with, and we won't have to do nothing.
Those are fund balances, those are not cash balances.
Right, but,
Those are fund balances. That's the net, it's not cash.
okay, but
It's not cash. That is fund balance.
it says you began with this much,
That
and
is,
you now have this much.
that figure is not cash.
But what is it?
It's net assets. It's a basic financial, it's this, from the statement of net assets in the CAFR. It's all assets.
Your assets
They're
are-
not liquid financial
Your
assets.
assets are 156 million.
That's all the buildings, that's all the.
That's government-wide financial statements. That's not the right, that's not cash. That's an asset.
So you
it's a
may
balance
be
sheet.
right that we have that much in assets, and we could do like some of the other towns did and maybe sell some off and then, or borrow money against them and pay interest on them. We have a neighbor that's paying, what, 26 million a year in interest?
More than that.
I don't know. I mean, that's not what we do. We don't have any debt, and we don't want any debt. We don't want to borrow money and pay interest. I mean, you can't say, this building, we could probably sell it and rent it back from somebody, put the money in the bank, and then eventually that money will be gone. Haven't we learned a lesson from what Springfield has done? That's the way they operate. We don't operate that way. We're different than most towns that are here. We don't borrow money. We've never borrowed money, to my knowledge. We've not since I've been here. We paid for this with reserves that we had, because I don't like borrowing money. Why would I borrow money and pay 3 or 4% interest if I'm only getting 1% interest on the money that we've got in the bank? That's why we paid this off. Everybody said, oh, you built the big building. This building should have been done 10 years ago, but we didn't have, we kicked it down the road. We kicked it down the road, and it came time that we either had to do it, or I don't know what we would have done. Maybe we would have done what other people wanted to do, maybe build a 30 or 40 million. We could have done that. We could have built on property and built a 30 or 40 million dollar building. But we didn't do that. So the taxpayers don't have to worry about this building paying for it. I think that's a small amount of money when you look at what we're asking for. I think that's a small amount of money when you look at what the towns around us pay. And I've had some of my employees bring their tax bills in that live in the surrounding areas, and I'm amazed at what they charge them. Our property tax for this village, for what we're asking a homeowner, is the same thing they're paying for the library. So whatever that is, if it's $150 a year, $200 a year, on my house, it'll be $300 a year.
Yeah, but it's $150 from you, it's $150 from the Park District, $150 from the schools. I mean, my taxes have gone up $6,000.
Well,
These $100 bills turned into thousands of dollars.
I guarantee $150 to us is double to the schools and to the fire department.
Well,
I
there's
mean,
no argument the
I
schools
understand,
are.
but, and you read the newspaper that schools, guess what? Oh, we're in a deficit, so let's get more money. We're not like that. Every year, we're gonna go through the budget and try to find places where we can still provide a good service, yet cut back where we can. It's not like we're an open checkbook. Hey, let's have a village picnic every week. We're not doing that. This is strictly what we need to get done. So it's not like we're asking for money and just spending willy-nilly. We're not doing that.
Well, I could understand you coming in and thinking we had $116 million, or whatever you said.
Well, I
I'd be
mean,
upset too.
you're.
John would have said, yeah, we got that. John would be walked out the door right now by the chief, to be honest.
I mean,
Because I know we don't have the money.
this budget is very confusing then, because you've got 231
You know
pages,
what?
and I can't
Honestly,
find how much you have in
It is
that.
confusing because of the way he has to do the numbers. And I ask that question all the time. How do you do a budget when you don't even know, we don't even know how much money we got coming in. We don't know what the state's gonna give us.
Right.
We don't know what we're gonna collect in sales tax. We don't know how much, you mentioned all them taxes that we have on. A lot of them are going down instead of going up. And that's not because we don't want them to go up. It's because we don't have any real shopping in this town. I mean, that's why we put the gas tax on. Hopefully, somebody will drive through town and buy gas. And a lot of other towns are putting gas tax on now. We're all scrambling for the money. The difference is, we don't have any debt, and some of them are in debt 30, 40, $50 million, and some as much as 90 million. We don't have that debt. So a small amount of money, when you look at it, how do you think I feel? Every time I drive, I'm in the industrial park, that's where my business is. I drive around, I see all them buildings. Most of them buildings in the industrial park, we don't get 1 cent from. Nothing, unless they flush the toilet or drink the water, basically. A small utility tax if they use a lot of utility, and maybe not that much. It all depends on what they do. We don't have any big data centers here. We don't have anybody paying us a lot of real high sales tax. We got one really true car dealer here, 2 used car dealers, always looking for more help. But I mean, we don't have that income that a lot of these towns, when you look around and you see these shopping centers, I see Death Valley when I see them. I mean, what we're getting and replacing them is a lot of restaurants. And I think you'll see probably more restaurants because we have to eat. But I mean, you're not seeing the sales like it used to be. I look at Fox Valley out there, whatever on North Avenue, it's sad what you see there. And I drive through Charlestown Mall and I go through Stratford and look at that building that all tore down. I mean, it's not what it used to be, and it's not gonna ever be what it used to be. Not in my lifetime, it won't be. And I won't say, my wife is probably the biggest offender because she buys something on Amazon every day. And I mean, that doesn't help us, but she couldn't buy what she gets from Amazon in this town. You can't buy a television in this town. Unless you want used clothes, you can't get them unless you go to Savers and buy them. I mean, we don't have that shopping, we don't have that ability to do that. And we're always looking for more businesses coming in. We got some nice ones coming in. We got a replacement for Ditch Witch coming in, looks really good. I mean, there's some good things that are coming. And hopefully, if we do everything the way we do and the planning that they do from community development and our staff and this board, maybe we won't have to keep a property tax. Maybe we won't have to put another one on. But I mean, when you look at it, there's only 2 towns in DuPage County besides us that don't have this. Oak Brook, one of the survival shopping centers, and Willowbrook, all millionaires. And us. We fit in that category? Not even close. But we did it for all these years, and it gets harder and harder and harder when everybody keeps taking it away from us. And it seems like the more we work and the harder we work, the less we end up with. And it's not up to us to make that decision.
No, that's what the citizens feel like too. The harder we work, the less we hit. And it's just,
Keep in mind, we all live here,
yeah.
we all pay taxes together.
But Mike, you know, your cash question, we keep 6 to 8 months reserve in our general fund, roughly. That pays our everyday bills, pays salaries, everything that. Everything else gets transferred into our capital fund, which right now sits at roughly,
It ended last fiscal year, April 30th, 19, with the balance of $7.2 million.
okay, and with our 5-year infrastructure plan, which if we don't do infrastructure, it will cost us tens of millions more later. Our reserves will be depleted in the 3rd year. And with pension funds and then insurance and then of course infrastructure, that's where the property tax unfortunately comes in.
So I don't know if you have any other questions?
No, I'm done.
Thank you, Mr. Wade. I'm sorry
Thanks,
for
Mike.
the confusion on a number, but I would be as upset as you were. And I've watched you and Mr. Jeffries in the past get involved when you didn't think something was really right, and I appreciate you coming forward, believe me.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Nellie Jean, and I don't want to, Nellie Jean O. Klubis? Did I pronounce that right?
Yes, right.
I did? Okay.
I'm with, yes,
Oh, sit back down.
thank you.
You got them all mixed up. You handed me all mixed up. Okay, well, I'll have to start reading them now. Okay, property tax. Paul Semish? No wonder you look confused.
Yes, hi, I'm Paul Samish. I've lived in Carroll Stream for 2 years now, and we moved, my wife and I, Carol, we moved here 2 years ago from Wooddale, and the only reason we moved from Wooddale is O'Hare put in that new runway. We lived in Wooddale for 32 years, and the first 30, it was quiet where we lived. We were south of Irving. As soon as they opened up that new runway, landing right over our house every minute, real low, real low. And I'm retired, I was home, everybody else in the neighborhood, they were all going to work. I had to sit there and listen to it. We moved from Wooddale, and our real estate taxes, now Wooddale does not have a property tax. It's just the real estate taxes that we pay. And we were paying anywhere from like around $420 a month to a high of maybe $470 a month from 2015 to 2018 in Wooddale for real estate taxes. And now, since we've lived in Carroll Stream, I'm just going by the records that I found for our house. In 2015 and 2016, there were around $600 a month for our house. And then when we bought in 2017, it was $550 a month for real estate taxes. And then it jumped to $650 a month. And now I hear that the real estate taxes are going to be reassessed now. Is that coming up for?
I don't know.
We don't actually do that. That's actually done by the township assessors.
Right,
I
right.
think, what side of town do you live in?
I live by Fair Oaks.
Bloomingdale?
And
No.
Oh, in
Birch.
Farrell, you're on the other side.
You're on
Fair
Woody
Oaks
Township.
and Birch Park
On Hickory.
on Hickory Lane there. Yeah. So I guess my question is about the property. I'm giving you my sob story about real estate taxes that we have to pay. I'm retired, my wife is retired. And, okay, so now I'm paying about $200 a month more than I did in Wooddale. And the only reason I left there was because of the stupid airplanes. But I could have saved $200 a month on my meager pension and Social Security and everything. And now this property tax thing is coming up. And I just liken it to that the tollways. Oh yeah, it's gonna be a tollway and we're only gonna,
25 cents.
yeah,
Yeah?
25 cents. And when it's paid off, that it'll be free. It's never been free.
I agree.
It just keeps, so what's gonna prevent this? And just to keep property tax going up and up and up. Our real estate taxes are gonna go up now, I'm sure, again. And this last one, it went up $1,100 year increase from when we bought the house to 2018. $1,100 it went up, and now it's going to be reassessed. And as I said, we're paying $200 a month more than we were in Wooddale. I'm probably going to be paying $300 a month more.
Well,
And then
On your
it's
sheet of
going to be
paper-
100 and what did you say? $100 and something $150 for.
Well, it all depends.
On the value of the house.
I wanted to ask you a question. What's your library? What do you have your?
Oh, I just wrote this.
Okay, whatever, our assessment
I
is
have
gonna
no
be,
idea what that
it
is.
should be right, almost identical to what the library, is that correct, John?
Correct, sir.
I have
The
no.
levies are almost identical.
So I figured, and I think I might have said this already, my house would be $300, according to what I'm paying the library right now, $300 more.
276, I think is us.
So, I don't know.
I mean, and that'll be for a year.
About 1% of what your house value is, so if you have a
Oh.
$300,000.
No, we can't control what the assessor does.
I know.
We got nothing to do with that.
I
And
know,
all
but
that you mentioned
I'm
up to
just-
there, we have nothing to do with that. We have never assessed, we don't assess anything and never have. I mean, we lived within our means and as much as we could,
Right.
pay as we go.
But I'm just giving you my sob story, and I know,
I
I
hear
know
it.
that once this gets in, now, I'm not a politician. I would have think that this proposed property tax, wouldn't that have to have been a Carroll Stream Village-wide?
No, we're home rule. We don't even have to have these hearings technically.
I'm not a politician.
No, I'm not a politician
I don't
either.
understand it.
I'm a businessman and a father and grandfather and great-grandfather. This is different for me. I don't even like being up here, to be honest with you. But I'm here because I am here, okay? I'm here because people ask me to be here.
Paul, as a new resident here in town.
Yes.
Were you aware that your tax bill that you've been talking about, zero of it to this point has come to the village? Were you aware of that? The village gets nothing at this point.
Oh, yes, I'm aware
Okay,
of that, the
okay.
village doesn't,
Yeah.
but I'm giving you my sob story.
No, right.
Everybody else gets some.
We all have those
And
tax
all
bills.
of, yeah, all of you,
Yeah.
everybody pay, but I'm just giving you my sob story about, he keeps going up and up and up. And I bet I bet you I'm gonna be paying $300 a month more than when I lived in Wooddale. And I looked up our house in Wooddale, it only went up $190 for the new people. And for us, it went up $1,100.
How did they
One
base that on what your
year.
house was worth? That's how you.
And both houses are comparable. They're, the lot size, the price of the house, it was an even swap. That's why we did it. We sold our house for X, and we paid the same amount for the house in Carroll Street.
Now,
Same
I don't
property
know
size.
if Wooddale in DuPage County?
Yes.
And they don't have a property tax?
Nope.
Real estate tax and property
The
tax,
same thing.
same exact.
Okay, because I was under the impression
okay,
in
you said-
DuPage County, there's only 3 that don't have a property tax.
So the city of Wooddale does have a property tax. It's, according to their documents on their website, it's broken out into their corporate rate as well as a number of other identifiers, including IMRF, bonds, and the like. Their rate is 0.55. Our rate that we're looking at this evening would be 0.3. So it's a lower rate than the.
See, and that's
Okay,
that's
but
what we go
and are
through.
you talking about, I never paid a property tax in Wooddale that I was aware of, because I think it's in the real estate tax.
That's the same thing as ours will do.
The same.
Yeah, same thing.
Same thing.
Oh, okay.
So if you look at your tax bill, it breaks down each taxing body, and it'll tell you the amount, and it'll tell you the tax rate for each taxing body. But if you looked at your tax bill from Wooddale, you would have seen
Well,
the
then I
city of Wooddale.
apologize,
You don't
because
know-
I
no,
could
no,
have
you
sworn
know what?
that Wooddale
Don't feel
does
bad,
not
there's people who
have
lived here
a
for 30
property
years that
tax.
still don't know they don't pay a property tax.
Yeah.
Because I have them ask me all the time, what do you do with my money? And I look at like, what are you talking about? I don't get any of your money. And it's like, no, you have to. How do you run the village? Well, we run the village without your money. Now we're asking for a few bucks and everybody's getting excited about it. And I mean, if we wouldn't do this, I don't want my 20 years of being here on the board and being the mayor to go down as the guy to put the property tax on. And I mean, if it is that, one thing I know for sure, and everybody here that works here and lives here a long time, know that we did it because it was the right thing to do. And I'm not going to guarantee anybody, we can't do this again next year or the year after. I hope we never have to do it again. I hope when I'm gone that they never have to do it again. But I can't say that. If you look at everything else that's going on, nothing is the way it used to be, and we have to try and stay ahead of that.
I think it's gonna be another tollway. It was supposed, the fee. to
25
drive-
cents on the Eisenhower Expressway
But
to the
it was-
end. I remember
It
that,
was supposed to be
20
over.
years.
20 years.
It was supposed to be over when it was paid for, and
Okay,
it
Paul,
never
thank you.
stopped. Yep.
Thank you,
But
that
I'm
was,
afraid
thank you for that.
that's what's gonna happen here.
Carol Davis?
Hi, Carol Davis, Glen Lake Drive, Carroll Stream resident since 1988. And believe me, I understand the tough situation you're in. I am also the chairman of the Illinois Conservative Union, a statewide organization that holds public officials all across the state accountable for spending taxpayer money. And as a divorced mom who raised 2 kids to successful adulthood, thank God, I've worked 2 jobs for over 30 years to keep my home and my property taken care of and paid for. So believe me, I feel it when the money when I have to come up with more money. Both of my adult children and my 2 grandchildren live in the area. I don't want to leave Illinois. I was born and raised here. And I don't want to leave my children and my grandchildren. But you know as well as I do, families in this state are being fractured, divided, destroyed because of the fiscal irresponsibility. And our village is suffering because of the statewide fiscal irresponsibility, and I realize that. But it is death by 1,000 cuts. And now it seems that Carroll Stream's going to have to inflict more wounds upon us all. As you know, the state just doubled our gas tax. And in the last legislative session, they passed 21 new taxes and fees. 21 new taxes and fees on the citizens of Illinois. The state and the towns are emptying out. Carroll Stream has been a model of outstanding fiscally responsible behavior in the past. Carroll Stream could now be the standard bearer for a leaner, and I'm going to say it, a meaner government. We cannot be everything to everyone. I learned that personally with my own children, and I set an example for them. You know what? My daughter, when she was 6, told 2 ladies that she was going to be a doctor and a bartender. She thought everyone in the world worked 2 jobs like her mom did. When times get tough, people get tougher. If they're going to survive, they have to do it. Now, you may be familiar, maybe you've heard of a town in Georgia called Sandy Springs. You might want to check them out. They contract out many of the village services, and they save their taxpayers and their people in town a bundle of money. And those people are thrilled with what's going on in Sandy Springs. I would ask that you all look at outsourcing some of the services that the village is now providing that might be causing this tax increase or tax to become necessary. John Marshall, one of our founders and the 7th U.S. Chief Justice of the United States, said the power to tax is the power to destroy. I have elderly neighbors who paid off their homes and lost them because of the irresponsible taxation in this state. We can do better. It's going to be hard, and it's going to take real creative thinking, but we can do better. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Carol. Sharon Leach?
Hello, I have questions.
Sure.
And I've lived here for a long time, since '87. I'm retired now, so I do have questions. So you said we don't get any money from the businesses in that business park. Are they getting that big of a tax break? Aren't they paying taxes on their properties?
To everyone
Well,
else.
you're saying
not
no,
to
he's
us.
saying yes?
Not to, no, not to us.
Let's try and, let me
Wait,
answer the
I'm
questions
asking.
rather than everybody jumping in. And if I need help, I'll just, when I stop, jump right in. Make it easier than all 3 of us, or 5 of us talking. Now, what was the question?
Now, the business parks, are they getting tax breaks? Are they not paying?
They pay taxes to the library, the fire district. They
The same
pay
as
the
me?
Park district, they
Okay.
pay us 0 unless
I
they
thought-
sell something and they pay a sales tax.
Okay.
Otherwise, we get nothing from them.
Okay.
If my tax bill on my building, it says no levy. I don't pay the village anything on my building. I'm on Randy Road, right down the street from Public Works, and I don't pay the village anything, just like I don't on my house at the other end of town. So I drive around and I look at all these big buildings that are going up, and if they don't sell something and collect a tax, they're just taking up more space. Now, it's good for the schools, it's great for the library and the
Yeah.
park district because they automatically tax everybody. And I've said, a lot of people have been through all these meetings. Have you ever gone to the library and said, don't raise the tax? The 2 guys in the back did, and they changed the way the whole library runs. Thanks to them, it's a much better library than it's ever been. And I'll say that, not because they're friends of mine, but I think they did the right thing. And today, we got an excellent library. Anybody ever go to the school districts and say, hey, 75% of my taxes I'm paying?
I have,
Good
I
for
was
you,
on the high
because
school,
you're
they
one of the
did
few
not
people.
like me because I told them they were wasting my money. And I had to give up overtime to go there, to go to their meetings.
And I don't want to throw anybody under the bus, but we got a park district that spends a lot of money. I mean, our fire district is phenomenal. They got a lot of ladder trucks that cost $1 million, but when I'm grabbing my chest and the paramedics show up, I want the best that I could have to come. I want the best for you when they come, and the best for everybody when their kids get hurt or a car accident. I watched them Saturday morning and the car rolled over right in front of me. I watched the fire department show up. We had one policeman show up because it was in halfway in the industrial area on County Farm in North. I watched the fire department work like a machine. All five fire departments all showed up at one time. One chief took action, cut the roof off the car, got the guy out of the two cars. I mean, that's what they're trained for, but that comes at a price. It's not cheap. I look at our schools. My kids all went through the school districts here. I hate to think that I got to pay that much money. My kids are all in their 40s and 50s, all of them. I mean, there's, and I'm not going to say they're smart because they're my kids. They got educated here through the grammar school program, through the high school program, went on to college. Some did, some didn't. But I mean, you pay for those things. So I mean, you can go and complain, and they can hire teachers that are not good. We could complain to the police department, and we don't have to have the programs we have. I can get rid of the social service department, wipe all three of them girls out. And as soon as there's a problem and somebody needs help, social services, we'll be doing, and Matt McCarthy brought this up, Trustee McCarthy, we'll be doing Christmas sharing, and yeah, it's important. We got a lot of families that are in this town that don't have anything to eat. We know who those families are, and every time I find one, I go in there and they already got them on the list. They're already working with them. They're helping find money to buy them beds, and we don't give them the money. They manage to muster all that money up through St. Vincent de Paul, through social service departments and churches and groups and whatever. I don't want those girls to go away. Yeah, I can get rid of the dare officer tomorrow, get rid of the car and get rid of the dare officer. But that's not what we're about. If we could save one kid by that dare officer, and we'll be this later in the week, Trustee Fruzzoloni never misses a dare presentation, Trustee McCarthy never misses one, and any of the other trustees that want to come, if they want to come, I try to be to every one of them. Because to me, if we could save one kid out of that 150 or 200 that their officer made friends with that won't go on drugs someday, we've done our job. And it comes at a cost.
Maybe you need to start taxing those solar panels.
Yeah. I'm going to tell you a story, because I
What?
told the story before. A solar panel place moves into town. They want me to cut the ribbon. I'm in, I go cut the ribbon. I said to the guy, how much you sell them for? He said, $30,000. Phenomenal. How much we get out of tax? You know what he said? Nothing. Nothing. I said, why am I here cutting your ribbon if I'm not going to get any money for the village? I mean, this is what I have to live with. Then I'm thinking, not only am I not going to get any money for the village, is every time he puts one on a roof, I get less money in the tax. And it's like, this is not what we signed up for. This is not like it used to be. I mean, and we have to do something to make sure we don't end up in the same hole that all the rest of the town, there's so many towns that are buried in debt right now, and because they just kept kicking that can down the road. I just can't see myself doing that. I mean, I'm going to pay more just like all the rest of us that are up here. We all live here. We're all going to pay. It's not that we're saying you should pay and we're not going to pay. I mean, this is painful for us. This is not an easy discussion. I mean,
Well, I don't want to make it pleasant for you to just be able to smooth it on
It
in.
shouldn't
That's
be.
why
It
I'm
shouldn't be pleasant.
questioning.
And it's not, and whether you're here telling us that or not, it hasn't been pleasant for us,
Okay.
behind closed doors. This is a difficult decision. We hate this.
we talked about this for 5 years, at
But
least.
we didn't know anything about this.
Pardon me?
I don't think any of the rest of us knew anything about this.
Oh, we've had it in, I mean, Tia could probably, she could wrap it off. I don't know how many times it's been in the paper. Everything we do, you're on television right now. Do you know that?
Oh, yeah, I figured that.
I mean, really, and I mean, that's the way I don't have, there is no privacy with me. Anything that comes in this building with my name on, if you send me something that says personal and confidential, what do they do with it, Joe?
Or to staff?
Cut it open and read it. I don't have any personal and confidential. I'm for the people. I don't want anybody to send me personal and confidential notes. You send me something, I guarantee you that they'll get it. My secretary and the village manager will get it before I get my hands on it. And if it's a complaint you have, they'll already start working on it before they ever give it to me. And I like it that way.
Because Ms. Leach had this question about not being aware. Tia, can you, again, I know you've done this in the past, point out to the audience all the different avenues that we've made this known to the public?
Absolutely. A property tax or stable revenue discussion has been in 26 meetings since 1971. 13 of those have been in the last 13 years, or excuse me, the last 3 years. We've had 14 newsletters where we've talked about this. 8 of those have been in 2019. We have talked about it at our 2018 and 2019 State of the Village, which is live, shown via PDF on our website and on our YouTube channel. We've also discussed it at our 2017, 2015, and 2013 goal-setting workshops. There have been 13 newspaper articles that have discussed it since 1991. 10 of those have been in 2019. We've also included the information on our website. Our budgets and audits are also available on our website and our finance page. We've done 15 Facebook posts in 2019, 11 Twitter posts in 2019. We also share the information on our marquee sign outside, the electronic signage within the building. In addition, we have our public access channel where we share the meetings, but we also share slides giving people a heads up, hey, we've got a meeting this date on this topic, and we've done that through multiple timeframes since September 9th, specifically giving people a heads up about these meetings. All board meetings are available on our public access channel. We also share the board meetings on our YouTube. We've included it in our water bill. In addition, several outside agencies have shared this information, the Central Park HOA newsletter, the Carroll Stream Chamber of Commerce newsletter, as well as on their Facebook page. And there were another 15 organization Facebook pages that made sure to share this information on their pages. A couple examples, Wayne Township Republican Organization, the Carroll Stream Illinois Business to Business Networking Group, Carroll Stream Community Activists, Residents of Western Trails, and many, many more.
The only one I had seen was been right before the first meeting for the residents of Western Trails.
Well, I mean, but we don't hide anything. Everything we do is, every meeting we have, the only time we'll go into closed session, we go in the back room if we're doing union negotiations. If we're doing, where we just can't sit out here and talk about labor things. We can't do that. We need to do that and talk to our HR person and figure out what we want to do as far as raises and other things that we do, or land acquisitions or whatever other, and then eventually that all comes out in the open anyway, just a matter of time. But I mean, everything we do is in the open. We went to the firehouse for almost 2 years. We were there while this building was being redone. And the thing that bothered me the most is we couldn't televise our what we did. And we didn't have a lot of people show up, which tells me that they've lost track of us for the last few years. But every meeting we have, even if it's a budget meeting, the doors never close. If we have a meeting and we're all together, it's an open meeting unless we're in closed session. We'll close from here, we'll close the meeting out, we'll go into closed session, and then come back next in 2 weeks. But we don't, there's no hiding stuff. We'll end up like everybody else. Everything has to be out in the open. I would rather answer your question and tell you, or everybody up here would, and tell you the truth. We're not going to lie to you because I'm on television. I'm not lying. I know what I'm saying. I mean, I feel bad that we have to do, we all do. But it is what it is. So, thank you, Sharon, for coming in.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
John Jessic. Jessica?
Jessica.
There you go.
Hello, everyone. I just first wanted to say that you all do a great job. I've told you that before. I've known some of you guys for a couple of decades, and like I said, I coached with you guys and went to tree lightings and all that, and I really appreciate everything you do. I've lived here almost 20 years, appreciate the village, especially its first responders. Last year, I personally had a car run a red light, ran my car, flipped me over, and the police and fire were there in no time. I believe I sent you all an email thanking them and praising the village when that happened, so thank you for that. Today, Carroll Stream is elite. It's one of the few suburbs without a village property tax. That helps our property values tremendously. When it comes to implementing this property tax, I strongly disagree. We're talking a lot tonight about revenues and falling revenues, but I wanted to talk a little more about expenses. I realize you have problems with Springfield, falling tax revenues and pensions, but you have not done enough in managing day-to-day expenses to warrant dictating a property tax. I have here a petition signed by nearly 500 people in only 2 weeks. And that's a lot of people signing in a short time. And these hundreds of people are asking, before the 7 of you order a property tax on the 40,000 plus residents of Carroll Stream, we're just asking we pause and review operating expenses again. General fund operating expenses. The village spending is up 1.7 million or 6% from last year. 15% or almost 4 million over the last 3 years, and $7 million or 32% since 2013. Inflation over that time has only been about 2% a year, yet we're increasing our budget by 5% or more each year. And to be clear, that's just operating expenses. Those expenses do not include the pension costs we talked about that you cited as a problem. And these spending increases of millions of dollars a year are just the operating cost. So we're also, all 500 of us almost, are asking you to review the staffing levels, because that's up 20 plus people, or 15% the last 5 to 7 years. And then the 5% annual increase in total salaries, overtime, and FICA is huge. And that amounts to millions of dollars over time. Finally, we ask you be an innovator and do a nationwide benchmarking study of all villages over the whole country and figure out what are the villages that are generating sales taxes, what are they doing? And the 3 years of sales tax declines here and businesses like Aldi and others leaving our village, it's not acceptable. And a property tax is going to make that problem even worse. The village cannot continue to say they are recovering from the recession of 2008. That was over a decade ago, and that's really an excuse. We're going into 2020 now. There's no law that says we need to get back to pre-recession spending levels. Expenses are up 15% over the last 3 years, but we don't have 15% more residents, and you're not providing 15% more services. This is Carroll Stream, it's not Chicago. A tax is needed not to fix the pension or sales tax problems, but it's needed to support the ballooning operating expenses. You have alternatives. We're just asking you to pause and listen to the hundreds and thousands of people you represent, as elected officials are really meant to do, and vote no on this property tax. You are not in dire need of the cash today. You have time. There's been a lot of talk in the workshops about pay as you go, but I prefer to live within your means. If you kept budget increases in line with inflation, just the last 3 years, you would have $2 million in the bank today in cash. So prudent spending combined with smart ways to attract retail would give you enough money to push this to be able to do the things in your capital plan for 5 years or more down the road. Your tax will not only hurt homeowners and their property values, but it also hurts renters, maybe even more so. The people that are least able to afford these rent increases that will come when landlords raise their rents after you hit everyone with a property tax, those are the people that are going to get hit the hardest. And it's just not the right thing to do. And we're just asking you to take a step back and please consider a no vote, or at least tabling the discussion tonight, since we don't need the cash immediately. And thanks for your time.
Anybody want to respond to him? Because I want to. Are you a trustee at the Park District?
I am.
Is your tax close to where our tax is going to be?
No, our tax is probably more as a result of the referendum that was passed. We went to the voters of Carroll Stream to ask if we should borrow money to build the
Do
Fountain
you
View
think
Rec
those are
Center.
the same voters that you went to ask for all that money that you owe all that money and the interest and everything? Are the same people that signed that 500? Because we had 3 public hearings that we had 3 times we had people come in. We didn't get a total of 100 people between 3 3 meetings. You got 500 signatures.
Yes.
You also
And
managed
if
to get
you'd like me to
signatures.
present, I have all their names and
I
everything,
I
if you'd
believe it.
like
You
it.
have,
Yeah.
you and there's another guy sitting in the back that has a way of going out and getting people to sign up because you think that you know more than everybody else. And I'm not being.
I didn't
I'm gonna
say
be- I'm
that.
sitting here- you
I
know
did
what?
not say that,
You live
Mr.
in a
Mayor.
glass house and you're throwing stones, and
I
that's a
did not
bad
say
thing to
that.
do.
And I had spoken to you, and I sent you guys all an email, and I can't believe I'm being attacked by the mayor at a public hearing, when it's a public hearing, a comment period. However, I had sent you an email at the Park District. We went to the voters and we asked, since you brought it up, we went to the voters of Carroll Stream, all these people here, and we asked, should we build the Fountain View Rec Center? And they,
I said no.
I know you said no, but the majority of the people said to build it, go to a referendum. And that's what they told the Park District to do. And by the way, I wasn't on the board at the time that was even happened. So to be attacked personally, I take great offense to that at a Carroll Stream public hearing to talk about property taxes.
You have anything else?
That's it.
Thank you very much for coming in. And I'll make sure I come to the Park District meeting and make sure that they do the right thing.
One of the reasons I believe elected officials get elected is because they want to represent the people. And I would love to have this kind of showing. Carroll Stream Park District on the website, the board meetings are on there, the schedule. I would love to have all these people there to tell me what they think instead of 7 people deciding what to do.
Mr. Jaska, do you want to provide the petition that you have?
Oh, sure.
Oh, thank you.
And there's more people that have signed since I printed that. But.
Thank you.
Do we have
Have that put in the record of the public hearing as well.
some of the numbers?
Thank you.
John, do you want to respond to some of them numbers that he had?
Just to verify.
Well, there were quite a few numbers there, so.
Well, I mean, I hate to throw it at you now. We could have had him go through one at a time, because I know what I've seen so far tonight is there's been a lot of miscommunication.
Sure.
And some of the people that have come to me that asked me about the 19%, different things that you had put in there, I tried to explain them to them, and they said it wasn't the way it was, but that is the way it is. I mean, but it's listed different. The way you list things is not the way I would do my business. If it's labor, it's labor.
Sure.
If
John,
it's cost, it's cost.
I can cover some of those items if you'd like. As it relates to staffing, staffing levels are still below the pre-recession levels, 3.8% below. Predominantly, the number of employees that we have hired since the recession are all really boots-on-the-ground employees. Those are public safety individuals, police officers, public works, who are serving the community on the ground. As it relates to expenses, I think it's an interesting point to have expenses below inflation, because non-payroll costs have been below inflation by, it's 0.6% increase over the last 5 years. So I think the village has done a great job holding the line on those costs. Obviously, personnel costs are a separate item, and those are things that unfortunately Springfield has a great deal of control over. As we've seen with pension obligations increasing nearly 10% over the last 5 years. Those are costs that the village has no control over, but we do have an obligation to pay for those and fund those appropriately. That's what we owe our officers, our public works employees. It's to do right by them. And as it relates to, retail and big box sales, and I think it's important to note that the change in retail market is vastly different than what it used to be. If you look at general retail sales, I mean, the malls are not what they used to be. Any growth in shopping centers today, you'll see about maybe 35% of it actually be retail sales. The rest of it, you'll see fitness centers, you'll see services, things that don't generate sales tax. And so the changing marketplace, we're increasingly a service-related industry. And that's why Trustee Shorzy continues to promote shopping local, because that is something that is important to the village, important to the community. But unfortunately, that's something that we have to continue to look and be flexible and adaptable as we move forward. So there's a lot of costs in there, a lot of information that was put out there. I would encourage individuals who have questions to look at the last few public hearings we've had. We've had a tremendous amount of information put put forth on our website by print media about this very topic.
Thank you. Trustee Suarez, you had something?
Yeah, you know, first of all, I'm going to say it again, and I said it when Ms. Leach was up here. This is not an easy decision for us. The mayor's frustration, John, I believe, is because this isn't something that just happened. We've been doing our due diligence. I mean, I've been on this board 13 years, the mayor for 13 years, on the board for 20, 15 or 16, 10, 16, 8, one for John. But, in the 13 years I've been on the board, this has been a topic of discussion. We've been doing our due diligence for years. We've had dialogue for years. As Tia mentioned, how many times the property tax was mentioned in meetings, it goes back a long, long time. And over the last 2 or 3 years especially, we've been fighting having to do this. This is not easy. So the mayor's frustration, I think, John, is, we didn't, and no offense, but we didn't see you at our public meetings that we had. And you've got a lot of statistics that you've put together in 2 weeks or 3 weeks. And we've been working for years on this. This is hard for us. Our budget is constantly fluid. Nobody has a fluid budget. We constantly have a fluid budget. We have budget meetings a dozen times a year when most communities have them, 5 times a year. We have more than a dozen times a year because guess what? All of a sudden we lost a taxing body. A 400 square foot, 1,000 square foot warehouse took their billing office and stuck it in a one-room schoolhouse in Itasca, and we get nothing from them. My point is, we've been working hard on this for a really long time. This is not new dialogue for us. We've been battling this demon for years and years and years. And that's, I think, the frustration is that, it's new to you, and and for whatever reason, you were unable to come to the meetings, and God bless you for watching those on those were pretty boring meetings, I'm sure, but you watched them, and that's a lot more than a lot of people did. So God bless you for that. But I think that's our frustration. This is not something that we just threw together at the last minute. We've been working hard on this for years, for a decade for some of us. So that's all. Thank you.
I wanted to, one of the other people that were up said something, we should look at a town in Georgia, I think it was. I'm not, is that right?
Sandy Springs.
Sandy Springs. Is that a right-to-work state?
I'm not sure.
And I can tell you, what I want to say is that here, if I told Mr. Modoff, I want you to go out and find me 10 employees and get rid of 10 union people that'll work for less money, we would have nobody taking care of the water reclamation plant. We'd have no water to drink because they'd all be on strike. That's the problem that we have in the state. It's a right-to-work state. It is, you don't have to.
Well, we're a non-right.
Not a non-right to work. If I called the fire chief and said, you need to hire more non-union people, that wouldn't happen. I could tell you that we're stuck with what we have. It isn't that we don't want to do it. We have put out, we do street sweeping. We used to do it all ourselves, most of it.
Correct, we used to do most of it in-house, we now contract that out.
What do we do for snow plowing?
We do most of it in-house, but we contract all our courts.
It used to be, it was different. I look at what we've done to try and save. We're always looking for a way to save money. We were the first town, and I don't want to brag because it's not even me. It wasn't even me. It was Public Works. They come up with the brine solution. They were the first ones to come up with the brine solution in this whole area. They built what we thought was still at the time at Public Works to put down on the street, to give them a 2-hour window. So instead of having a weather forecast of it's going to snow, and we bring in 6 guys waiting for it to snow watching television with really nothing else to do, and then it didn't snow, then they go home and get time and a half. Now, we don't have to bring them in until it starts to snow, because we got the brine down on the streets. And if anybody lives here and they got a problem with the way we do streets, I need to know about it. Because everybody, it's one thing, it's consistent. Mayor, your public works does a great job. I get up in the morning, I can go to work, I pull right out on the street, other than the snow at the end of my driveway, I can't do nothing about that. But I mean, and it's a problem, I have the same problem. I'm old, I have a hard time shoveling it too, but I have to get it out of there.
You're not under 5 feet tall. So don't keep me there.
Phil, if we were to contract out things like we do street sweeping, we still have to pay prevailing wage though, correct?
Absolutely.
Which is another issue with the way the state runs, is we can't really get it cheaper. And this is no shot at unions, by the way, from any of us. We love our union people. I'm just saying, if we were to farm it out, we still have to pay prevailing wage. I mean, we're still stuck on that it really doesn't save us that much. It saves a little. I mean, we do save a little on the streets sweeping. But big picture, it doesn't save that much because of the prevailing wage law.
And that's because our Springfield representatives say that that's what they want, and we have to live with it. I'm going to tell you another story, because this is a true story with the owner of Ditch Witch that moved. I sat with him and he said, Frank, could you bring Senator so-and-so, and I don't want to mention his name, and have lunch? Sure, not a problem. I call up, have lunch. We're having lunch, and then he says to him, what were you thinking about that bill when you passed that bill about prevailing wage on electricians? And he goes, why, you like the bill? He said, well, I think it's a great bill. But he points at me and he goes, this guy's going to pay a lot more when we do work for him. I said, why is that? He said, because the prevailing wage. They took the highest electrical paid guy in the state of Illinois, and that's what the prevailing wage is if he does work for me at the village. But if he did work at my house, it's a lot less. And it's like, we're stuck here. I mean, we're stuck in this vacuum that we can't get out of because they keep pushing it from Springfield. And anybody that's following the news right now, they're dropping like flies in Springfield. I mean, I hope that it continues, to be honest with you, because I wish that they could be as open as we are, the way what we do and what we talk about, what we're doing. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So, and then just the last thing I want to comment on at the moment, our staffing, you know, that it kind of implies that we overprovide. And, you know, and here's the things we take care of. I mean, we take care of our roads. And as soon as we let those roads go, and we pushed them off in 2008, 2009, when the economy went down the tubes. You know, we didn't, you know, there's, like the mayor said earlier, there's a schedule for when we, you know, just put a dusting over the top of it, and then there's a schedule where we maybe take 2 inches off and redo that, and then there's a schedule where we tear the whole thing up and redo that. And if you get away from that schedule, it costs exponentially times more in the long run. So we take care of your roads for you. Obviously, the snow plow in Carroll Stream, we continue to hear that it's the best of the best. Now, we don't do the state roads, we don't do North Avenue, don't be mad at us on that, that's a state road. We don't do the county roads, there's county roads in town, that's not our fault, but we take care of the roads that you guys, and we constantly hear, I mean, I never hear any negatives, you know, aside from a few mailboxes here and there, which we typically take care of. You know, we have the best, we really got the best police department ever. You know, yeah, we patrol North Avenue, but you know what that does? That keeps the drug dealers out of town. I love the fact that we, you know, and if I'm speeding on North Avenue, God bless the police, for, you know, I deserve a ticket. But you know what? Carroll Stream's known, you know, good or bad, it's known. Don't drive through Carroll Stream on North Avenue. Don't speed on North Avenue. Guess what? You think that keeps people, maybe some riffraff out of town that we don't want in town anyway. We have a great, you know, social services, you know, the seniors in our town. We have multiple senior housing complexes. And, you know, as a paramedic and a firefighter, you know, I see people in bad situations who have no one to lean on except for our social services. So I don't think we overprovide. And there was talk about, you know, our staffing, you know, is up from last year, the year before, whatever. And like our assistant village manager said, it's still not up to what, you know, we're still less manned than we were in 2008, 2009. But you guys think we overprovide? I don't. Basic services, that's what we offer. And to this point, we've been offering you could actually live in this town and get those services for free. You really could. I mean, yeah, there's taxes here and there, but you don't have to shop in Carroll Stream. You don't have to get your gas in Carroll Stream. You don't even have to buy your car sticker if you want to gamble and try to not do it and not get ticketed for it. If you get rid of your landline and you got solar panels, guess what? You know, the water isn't even, you pay for what you use, but technically you could get all these services and there's probably people in this town that have been getting all these services free of charge. And it doesn't mean you don't have a tax bill. You do. Unfortunately, none of it has come to us up until this point. So that's all I got to say. Thank you.
Thank you. He's worse than I am. Mr. Fusiloni, I think you wanted to say something?
I do. I just want to address a couple of things. Mr. Jaska had made a couple of points that I just wanted to clarify. He used the timeframe from 2012 to 2018. From 2012 to 2018, we've actually had an increase in calls for service from our police department. So I think that more than justifies the 9.5 additional police officer staff that we have added to our payroll. We also have several of our police officers that are in specialty units where they are working with other agencies like the FBI. So we've added in those types of positions. We've also added in positions in our Public Works Department. So in 2012, we actually measure how many snow events do we have and how many inches of snow. 2012, we had 14 snow events. We had 24 inches of snow. 2018, last year, we had 38 snow events and 50 inches of snow. And by the way, if you think that the snow falls between 7 and 3:30 when our guys are working, it does not. It usually falls on Friday nights, Saturdays, and holidays. So we unfortunately don't have any choice when it comes to overtime. In that time span, 2017 was actually our lowest amount of snow and snow events, but every other year was almost comparable to somewhere in the neighborhood of 20 to 25 snow events and over 40 inches of snow in those 7 years. So it's really important that, yes, we needed to add additional people to our Public Works Department. One of the other things that we added in Public Works is we added one more mechanic. I don't know if people are aware of this. We actually have in-house mechanics, and in those 6 years that we've been referencing, they have actually done preventative maintenance on our fleet of all of our vehicles. They do all of the public works trucks, they do all the police vehicles, and they have increased their work enough that we had to bring in another mechanic. These guys work very, very hard. We try not to have to send our vehicles out unless we absolutely, and our equipment too, unless we absolutely have to get it repaired. Our Public Works Department deals with 108 residential miles of roadway. We have 106 miles of storm sewers. We have 139 miles of water mains. We have 112 miles of sanitary sewer. These guys, this is what they manage. At 2 o'clock in the morning, when we have a water main break, they're going out for 16 hours to take care of that water main break. So when we talk about trying to keep overtime in check, we try and keep overtime in check as much as we possibly can. Our Public Works Department over the last 5 years has been remarkably innovative in how do we tackle storms. And every year they give us, the snow plan is what, about 80 pages, roughly? 60 to 80 pages?
It may seem that long, it's really about 20.
Yeah, no, it's like 60 to 80 pages. But they have found ways to actually make our operations so efficient that they're being modeled by other towns in other states across the country. They're being written up in magazines because of the way that they are conserving salt, the way that they do their plow operations, when we call our people in, how we use our contractors. I spent 16 hours doing a snowplow ride-along last year, and it was fascinating to watch the entire operation from the first snowflake to the last snowflake. So I understand the concern, and it looks like, yes, we've added 20 people over the last 6 years, but these are people that we really needed, and the work that they're doing is justified. I will say that. Mr. Jaska, the other thing that I just wanted to point out just very quickly is when you say that our operating expenses, you're comparing actual expenditures from 2016-17 to our budget. Those are budgeted amounts. We're only part of the way through our fiscal year, so I don't know if it's a fair comparison to take and compare an actual expenditure from a previous year to what our budgeted expenditure is for fiscal year 1920, because our year does not end until April. And I think that's maybe one of the misconceptions that people have, that we're on a calendar year, fiscal year, but we are not. We run from May 1st to April 30th. So we do have a lot of budget meetings where we have to go in and make changes in November, December, January, February, whereas other towns or taxing bodies where they're on that calendar year, they can make those changes in December and they build it into their budget, and in January, it's a non-issue for them. For us, it's a big issue. So I just wanted to address a couple of those points and clarify some of those points, because I think it's very important for apples to apples comparison, and to let you know that we have had increases in service calls from our residents, and our residents expect our police to show up. They expect our Public Works Department to be out there for 16, 17, 19 hours plowing snow. We can't tell them that they can skip streets and prioritize which part of town that they go to. They have to take care of the entire town the entire time. So I just wanted to point that out. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Trustee Frizzolini. So all that said is what we are as a service company. We're here to service the people. Public Works services the people. Police Department services the people. We service the people. That's what we do. There's a difference between recreational. The fire department services the people. I mean, if they don't get a call, they stay at the firehouse, but they still have to be there. In our case, it's the same thing. We have the same exact way. It's a service business. And in the service business, you'll always have a high labor cost. There is no other way. We don't have product costs other than buying salt and whatever we need to keep the building going, our electric bill or whatever our bills would be. So I mean, when you provide service at the level that we do for 22 million square feet of industrial space and 40,000 plus people that live in this town, to ask for $1 a day, if it even comes to that, maybe on a big house, it's not even going to be that. It isn't going to be, it's not a killer. It's just something to get us by, to see where we're going with the state. Who knows with the state? I don't know what they're going to do now. We have no idea where. I don't even know how John Baytek stays in that job, because it'd be like trying to run your household with no money or not knowing what you got, and your husband would come home and tell the wife, or the wife comes home and tells the husband, who's ever working today, it doesn't matter, I want you to buy a new car, I want steak for it, but where's the money going to come? It's not my problem, it's your problem. The pensions are the same thing. Do they tell us what we got to do with the pensions?
They do.
And when we said, well, what if we don't do it? They'll keep the rest of the tax money. I mean, that's what we live with. That is what we live with every day. So all I'm going to say is when it comes time to go to the polls, do your due diligence on who you pick and who you put in office, because that makes a big difference. Because right now, we got some bad people in office, and we need to get the state straightened out. Rather than running out and leaving and running away and saying, I don't want to stay here anymore, let's fix the problem. You don't need term limits. You are the term limits. We're the term limits. You don't like me, don't vote for me. It's simple. But I'll never, ever do anything that's going to put me first. It'll always be the people in this town, just like everybody else up here and like everybody else is sitting here. They may not live in this town like we do, but it's very important for them to do what they do. We have one more person, Jim Campbell. I'm sorry, Jim, it took so long to get to you.
That's fine.
I start talking, I'm dry, I'm on my second bottle of water, but I'm going anyway.
Thank you, Mayor, trustees, for this opportunity to speak. Heard a lot of emotions tonight on both sides. I understand this tax levy is not an easy decision for you guys to make, and I appreciate that. I run a small business. I employ about 59 people, and they're my family. And it's my job as the GM to take care of those people, make sure they have a paycheck every week when they go home. So I understand what you're going through up here. I can appreciate that. But there's been a lot of emotion put out on Facebook that are skirting the true facts and kind of skewing reality to favor a position. Why, I don't know. But it's done so. Mr. Jaska presented a petition for 500 people
about, he put out on Facebook. And I saw that petition, and it kind of stirred me to do a little bit of research, employ my brain versus just relying on emotion. I believe in facts to make decisions. That's kind of odd, but it works for me. So I went to the Park District website, which is their 2018 annual results. Very, very good source for information to do a comparison on what the Park District has done to our community over the last decade compared to what's happening now with the village. Since 2011, when Mr. Jaska joined the Park District, there have been tremendous increases in their budget and their costs. And over that time, they have had a negative flow of income of close to $35 million. Hence why they passed the bond to update the Park District and the facilities. When you guys built this building here, did you go for LEED certification? Did you apply for the extra cost just to have that plaque on the wall? That does nothing for the village. No? Okay. When the police services the community, they service just people who use them, or they service everyone regardless? Everyone. So the Park District, as a library, if you don't use their services, you don't get to enjoy your tax money. They take our taxes regardless. Right now, the Park District has a tax levy of a 0.8. You're asking for a 0.25 to a 0.3, somewhere in that range. So more than double of what you're asking for services that I may or may not choose to use. On a building that is LEED certified, that has a geothermal system that hasn't functioned properly in years, and will cost tens of thousands of dollars to repair, a very poor investment of our tax dollars. Over that same time, the Park District has increased their income from $6.2 million a year to $8.474 in 2018, a 29% increase, with total revenues up over 32%. They have increased their income from user fees from $500,000 a year to over $4 million a year over that same time frame. So people talk about you guys being responsible. I think it's the pot calling the kettle black more than anything else. I applaud you for your restraint that you've shown over the last 13 years or so.
I show restraint?
Of not taxing us sooner.
Thank you.
You haven't felt entitled to our dollars. We look at some communities in our area. We look at Glendale Heights. Their tax rate in 2017 was 1.2897%, a full point above what you're asking for. In perspective, this levy of 3.8, 3.2 million is what it is. It's going to be painful. We understand that. But we as citizens need to understand it's not the village as the bad guy. We need to look at things like the library that's not used by everyone, that has the same levy as you're asking for. Look at the Park District that might be used by a fraction of our citizenry, but yet it's a 0.8 plus for their tax rates. And the negative operating budget. If I ran my company the way the Park District runs, I wouldn't have a job. When the top director of the Park District makes over $170,000 a year on our budget, on our dime, plus our own pensions that we fund as pensions, for that type of performance, that's ludicrous. That's absolute insanity that he gets a raise. They want to give him a 3% raise this year for that kind of performance. In the real world, in the business world, that would never happen. He'd be out in his ear. So I applaud you for your restraint, but I do ask that when you do hit us with this levy, that you take only what you need. If you can get by with 3.2, please only hit us with 3.2, not the 3.8. Thank you.
I wish I would have called you first. Well, that was the last of the, anybody else, even if you didn't sign up, anybody else want to come up and take the podium? Oh, you want a return? Come on. Then I'm sure that Mr. Campbell want to come.
I'm sorry, I just wanted to sort of clarify. I mean, again, this isn't a Park District public hearing. It's a village public hearing on a property tax. to attack the Park District like that, especially when the numbers are correct that he stated, number one, I wasn't even on the board when the decision was made to be a LEED certified
Mr.
building.
Jansen,
I wasn't
you
even on the
don't have to
board.
go back to him.
Okay.
If you have more, do you want to
So,
talk about our property
yeah,
tax?
I do.
Okay.
I wasn't on the board when that decision, but it's not about the Park District. It's about the property tax in the village. That's what this hearing is about. And I'm somewhat surprised that nobody spoke up to stop the attack on the Park District. I mean, I'm a little disappointed, but just let me finish. The numbers I quoted, and I know you responded to me a little bit, it wasn't about pensions. It wasn't about this or that or how many miles of road we have. We don't have 15% more miles of road than we had 3 years ago, and yet our budget here keeps going up 5% year after year, year after year. At the Park District, our budget has gone up 2-ish% operating expenses. All we're talking about is operating fund expenses. And I did a lot of research. I know I wasn't here at the workshop, but I went back and I looked at every one of your comprehensive annual financial reports going back to 2012. I watched every video at the workshops. I sent you guys an Excel file. I could share that with you. But the bottom line is your operating expenses go up 5 to 6% a year. And again, we don't have 5 or 6% a year more roads to clear. I'm talking every single year going back to 2012. At the Park District, our expenses go up about 2% a year. And that's in line with inflation or even below what inflation is. So I just wanted to respond to the attack on the Park District at a village public hearing on the property taxes.
So now you got me back in again, so stay at the podium,
Okay,
please.
sure.
So when someone wants to use a room at the Park District, do they pay for it?
I'm sorry.
If I wanted to hold a meeting at the Park District, do I have to pay for the room?
Are we still in a public hearing for property taxes? Is that what we're discussing for the village? Is that
Well, I
what?
mean, you came back and made comments that what we're doing, but I really feel that you, for some reason, seem to be the leader of attacking us.
I'm not attacking, I'm just stating facts. And again, I just want the residents to notice how this keeps going off away from the operating expenses
Okay, well,
of the
how
village.
about this? Mother Nature doesn't have, like, I mean, she doesn't, when it snows in the middle of the night, it's like trustee Fuzloni says. I mean, operating expenses, yeah, we don't have 5% more roadway. But if it snows at a certain time, that all, and I didn't mention the Park District, so, you know what I'm saying? But we have we are trying to do what's best for this village. It's not like, hey, let's pad our pockets with extra money so we can do whatever we want. You know what I'm saying? And I understand you did your research, but operating expenses fluctuate, and we're servicing the community.
Every single year, they've gone up consistently, regardless the amount of snow. We keep getting off again on another tangent on snowfall.
And again, not every single year. You went back to 2012.
Right, I went
Continue
back
to
to
go back a little
2012,
farther,
all
you'll
the way
see-
through
you'll
2012.
see
I
that-
did not go back to 2008. I did not.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yes, state your name, even though you didn't fill out the paper.
Thank you. Michael Borner, I've been here since '04. Neighbors with Rick Geezer, Matt McCarthy, Laura, good friends with everybody here, so appreciate the work you guys are doing for us, and John Salak as well, sorry. Issue there. My concern with the property tax is sustainability. You said there's, the cause of it was a big business leaving the town, right? My concern is kind of bigger than that. Illinois, with the $15 minimum wage, that's kicking small businesses' butt. And I know we got the day that we just had we just proclaimed Saturday. I'm very happy about that for the small businesses. But that $15 minimum wage is kicking everybody's butt, and they're going to be leaving Illinois. So what kind of planning have we done around making sure that we continue to have the revenues coming in? Because you're going to have businesses leaving just because it's Illinois.
Well,
they can't afford to stay.
let me try and answer that, and then I'm gonna ask Don Bastian to finish up where I leave off, because he knows a lot more than I do. I work real close with them. Aldi's is a perfect example. I'm gonna go to Aldi's first. They came to us and wanted to expand. They tried to buy the restaurant that's in front of them, and the price was so high that they couldn't, it didn't fit their budget to buy it, that property, knock the restaurant down, and increase the size of the store. At the same time, a store front right by Costco in Bloomingdale went broke, moved out, whatever they did. So they took that opportunity and moved it. They didn't want to move. That same piece of property that was up for over 900,000, that person that owned the restaurant thought they were going to get it, ended up selling it for six something.
600.
When it came down. They thought that they had Aldi right where they wanted them, and I'm going to get 970,000 for a building. It ain't worth it. And it backfired on them.
And on us.
And then I'll go to, after that one, now, that's why they left. They didn't want to leave. They wanted to remodel that store like they did on the other end of town. Then I'll go to Ditch Witch, which is my neighbor. I sat with Earl, and he did everything except cry, because we've been neighbors for 25 years on Randy Road. He didn't want to leave. He didn't want to take that sales tax out of town, but he needed more space. His business has grown to a point where he sells people like Comcast and all the trenching equipment. There's no place for him to dig and show these people how to use this equipment. He got a magnificent deal in West Chicago, right off of North Avenue. I mean, I had lunch with him, and he did everything. I mean, when his power went down, they came to my building and used my phones, and vice versa. I mean, that was, he didn't want to leave. But growth comes, and he's got to go. Now, we have somebody that's going in there that we think will offset everything and maybe even more than what he had. So we work hard on trying to bring people in. You know, I mean, and, I can keep going, but I mean, how hard do we work? How many meetings do we go to?
We meet with brokers every week, real estate brokers, retail brokers, commercial brokers, industrial brokers. We are in different stages of discussions right now with brokers that are working on about 1 million square feet of additional industrial space. And, you know, they don't always generate sales tax, but some of them do, so.
Well, you look at some of the companies, like Antunes is a perfect example, a phenomenal company, phenomenal, huge. What was this, how much do they add on their building?
40,000 square feet.
They don't sell anything where we collect any tax. You want to talk about Mercedes-Benz? How much did they add on their building?
84,000
How long they been in town?
since,
Since the beginning?
before me.
Did you make sure their billing office has to stay in town?
There's no billing office.
There's no billing, that's the problem. And that's what, every time I drive around and I see FIC America, the same thing. They run 7 days a week. We get nothing from them. He asked me one time, what could I do for you? No offense, he don't speak English, the new president. And I said, clean your damn building up. And she told him exactly what I said. And he hasn't talked to me since, but he painted the building in 2 weeks. They painted because that's important to me, that the building looks good. We're not getting any money from them, and I can continue to go on and on and on. There's some businesses in town that are taking 300,000 square feet. We get more from a gas station than what we get from them.
And
How can we change that?
conceivably, by putting on this property tax, I mean, these building owners, if they have a vacant building, guess what? They're gonna pay more now, and it's more incentive for them to get these buildings filled, I think.
Absolutely. And I mean, there's a lot of things that we're working on. I can't share with you because we're open. And if I told you some businesses that are looking at coming in on property, there's towns around here that would love to have them. And if you look at the towns around us, they could all use them, just like we could. So we have to be real careful how we do that and what we do. I mean, I don't always share even with the board when there's somebody new coming, because sometimes if it just happens to leak out and it could end up in Bloomingdale or Hanover Park, those mayors are friends of mine, but I don't share information with them when it comes to who wants to come here. But we attend more choose-to-page meetings. We've had meetings with builders. We've actually had where trustee Fruzaloni has sat in on them, trustee Geezer sat in on them, where we bring the builders in, we bring the real estate people in, and we talk to them about what could we do better. We changed all our codes when I took over as mayor. They did it, they took it upon themselves. I wanted them changed. We want to be standard. We weren't standard. People wouldn't come and build in this town. And now the problem is we don't have a lot of land left to build in this town. But every time you look around, you see something else happening, something else is coming, something else is gonna happen. We got a lot of good things going on right now, so I'm hoping that if, and we have no control over if they collect sales tax or not. I mean, we could do what we could do, but we can't control what they do. I look at it as jobs though, too. We got 40,000 people. It'd be nice if you lived in this side of Gary Avenue and you worked on that side of Gary Avenue. It makes it a lot easier if you're going to work. A lot of people do that, working in, I try to hire people from this town. I have a lot of my employees are from Carroll Stream, or close. So,
One more answer, Mike. We hold staff accountable for everything. So, and do you think we want to go through this again? Absolutely not. This is horrible. But we hold them accountable. We make them sharpen their pencils.
I just think, I'm just saying that I think it would behoove all the staff and everybody if we gave some faith that there's going to be some attack on sustainability, some way to avoid kicking the can and actually maybe fill the can with something that we want to drink.
unfortunately, we're in the most volatile state that I could think of, any place in this whole country. When you look at what goes on in Springfield and Chicago, of how they run the state, is sad, you know? So it is what it is. I can't change it. I can't fix it. Everybody out there votes could fix it if they wanted to go vote, but don't think your vote don't count, because I know it does. So thank you for, do you have anything else?
Thank you. No, sir.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? I know we're a little out of whack, but I don't care. That's the way I like running meetings. If you want to talk, you come back up.
Well, I just want to say, I'm sure you all belong to municipal organizations.
At the podium, please, so this way they could hear you on television.
I'm sure you all belong to organizations of other municipal leaders.
Yes.
I want you guys to go down as en masse and storm Springfield.
We do.
I mean, hammer the hell out of those guys.
It's happened more than once, many
Goes
times.
in one ear and out the other.
Because it's, like you say, we all know where the root of the problem here
We don't
is.
vote for them. And I don't want to, people ask me, how does so-and-so stay in office? Because the people in his district probably are all working for the state, the city, or somehow that he helps them get jobs.
Oh, yes.
You know who Robin Hood was? That's what I say. That's who he's like, Robin Hood. He helps, steals from the rich and gives to the poor. They're going to vote for him no matter what he does. And there's a whole bunch of them that are like that. They're going to vote for him, and it's a badge of honor. Some of them, they could get pinched for doing something and get a record and go right back in office, but while their indictment is still cooking.
I understand,
I mean, and it's
believe
sad,
me.
but I can't fix
I
that.
work on this problem down there every single day, and believe me, I understand what
Well-
you're saying. But you have power.
Well,
The
with-
villages together, the towns together could be a strong force against what's going on.
Not when the elected officials in Springfield leave for the day when they know villages come down. And that happens a lot.
You know who's got the power down there? And I hate doing this. The fire department, the police departments, anybody, SEIU, they have the power because they have the votes, because their people will all get together and they'll do what they got to do.
Oh,
Where
don't
we
forget the
can't-
teachers' union. Don't forget the teachers' union.
Well, in the teacher, yeah, thank you, because that's
Yeah.
another one. I've been down there, when SEIU's been down there, I had to get a blue shirt, a purple shirt, or I couldn't even walk the floor. That's how many people were down there. I don't go to
Believe me,
Springfield.
I
would rather
understand.
work, the people that I know are our senators and our reps. Used to know the congressmen and the rest of them, but we don't even, that I don't even know anymore. I mean, it's a whole different world than it was before.
Well, we all better do something about it, or the last one out better turn out the lights, because this state's gonna be done for. And we all know, the most important government is local government. If our local governments all over this state would rise up against what's going on, they would have to hear us. So,
They're after our pension money right now. They want the fire pension money and they want the police pension money.
oh yeah,
They want control over
And
it.
an ex-chief that runs our pension fund for us said, Frank, don't let them take that, because they'll take that and they'll get rid of that money. If we haven't learned anything about the way the state runs and what they do with their money, and they want all our money, I mean, really? I mean, I wouldn't want to be waiting for my pension 15 years from now, because they'll figure out a way to get rid of all that money. They already tried to add stuff in, just like I said they would, because I know how they operate. In the middle of the night, they'll add a paragraph in there that takes us right back out of it. And those are important things to my police, that we need to be able to have input into what's going on. They didn't want us to any input at all. They changed the whole thing overnight, and then it was stopped. So thanks to the IML, the Illinois Municipal League, which we're all members of. We belong to the caucuses from all over the state of Illinois. We sit with the mayor from Chicago. I think she's got her hands full. We were close to Mayor Daley, not close to Mayor Rahm. Mayor Rahm was all about Mayor Rahm. We wouldn't even sit in the same room with them. I would. But I think this mayor that's there now, you see what happens when you take everybody on? She went to Springfield with all that power. What did she get? Nothing, because they have that power to shut her right down.
Well, maybe if there were 300 mayors with her, they would have listened. You see what I'm saying? I think you physically need to storm
We go in
Springfield.
masses, believe me when I tell you. I mean, there'll be busloads that'll go down to Springfield. I like working DuPage County. I really enjoy working DuPage and the Collars, because that's important to me. And I do have some friends that are on the county board for Cook County that I could pick up the phone and call and ask why they did this, or why are you gonna do this? And then I could give them my spin on what I think, because we have friends all around us that are in two counties, Cook and DuPage. You don't want to be in Cook County, because Cook County, everything costs more, everything is bad, the police department, I mean, what they do, I could tell you story after story, it's just, it's bad. But it is what it is, and we can't change it. We've even talked, a bunch of mayors, about maybe Chicago should be another part of the state, instead of being part of what we do.
Oh, yeah, there's a big movement now to have two Illinois. You know, I understand what you're dealing with, but I think that, you know what, and this conversation tonight that you're having is good. Because this, like you say, is out there now in video, and it's education for the people of Illinois.
There isn't one person on this board that isn't open for discussion at any time, even while I'm in church. I have people come up to me and they go, "You're the mayor, aren't you?" Yeah. If you knew that when you sat down, could we wait until we're done? I need an hour with God, because I need that. And then outside, we'll talk about anything you want to. And I mean, and usually it's something that they heard that isn't even close to it. I mean, and it's like, that's not what it is. And it's like, well, I didn't know that. Well, ask. That's why we're open. We all are open. Wherever we go, we answer questions.
I understand, like I say, as the chairman of a statewide organization that's all about fiscal responsibility and holding legislators and public officials accountable, I understand the frustration. But I also know that there is extreme power in numbers. And if we're going to save our town, our villages, our state, we're going to have to really rise up in a powerful way. So thank you for educating the public. We're in this together. If my organization can help in any way, I got 1,500 activists all over the state.
Well, now that I know Mr. Jancic is capable of getting signatures like that, there's a good start, because that's what they understand. If you can get to them with signatures and tell them, hey, you know what? You're doing the wrong thing here. I mean, there's 33 mayors in DuPage County and almost 1 million people. And I don't want to tell you how many people voted in DuPage County, because you'll get sick.
It's embarrassing.
You know, I mean, and the 17 or 18%, yeah, I don't even know what the number is. It's so low, it's a joke.
I'm an election judge here in DuPage County. I can tell you how low the turnout
People
is.
that don't vote, they ask, how do you know that I don't vote? Because we get all the records, I know if you vote. Don't tell me you voted for me. You don't even know who I am. And I mean, and I know that offends some people, but I don't care. I mean, if you don't vote, you don't vote. That's your right. That's why we live in this country. I would like and hope that everybody would go vote. We have a trustee on this board that ran numbers it was amazing how he came up with this idea to run the numbers on our present governor about marijuana. How many people voted for him knowing he was going to legalize marijuana? That was important to this trustee. I would have never thought of that, to be honest with you, because we're sitting here trying to make a decision. Do we put it in or do we not put it in? Some people want it, some people don't want it. I mean, so we're sitting here trying to, all of this comes down on us at one time. I hate drugs. Everybody knows that. I've been, for the last 4 or 5 years, I work with the police department, fire department. I work with them constantly, with the schools, with everybody, with the coroner, trying to figure out a way to beat this opioid thing. Now we legalize marijuana. And if anybody looked at the reports that are open, the marijuana people are all going broke because nobody's buying marijuana, because the street people are selling it cheaper.
Oh, exactly.
than
It
they
only
do.
strengthens
And we're gonna
the
make
black
it legal,
market.
so when my cops stop somebody and they got an ounce of drugs with them, we ain't even gonna be able to do nothing to them because it's legal.
That's right.
That's what we live with every day. And that's gonna be another project for our police department, God bless them, that they're gonna have to figure out how they're gonna get around that.
Well, again, if we can help if my organization can help in any way, because we're all in this together. This ship's going down, folks.
Figure out a way to get people to vote, that's what
Yeah,
we need.
yeah.
I do want to comment on something you mentioned earlier. You know, you talked about us maybe farming to work out. Now, no, we do a little bit of it, but we have also replaced a number of employees, full-time pensionable employees with benefits down to part-time employees. We've also contracted a few of them, a few employees where we're also limited in how much we have to spend on benefits. So we have found ways that it saves us money. I mean, and we've been doing this, we haven't been doing this for a year, we've been doing this for a number of years. Actually, I believe we started it back in '08 when we did lose, some people.
Yes, that's correct.
It was ugly. I came in '07 and in '08, the whole bottom fell out. We had 200-year floods back to back. Everybody blamed us for the floods. It was ugly. And then the economy went in the tank. And we survived. And we pulled in, we had people take early retirements. We bought people out to get them off the payroll so we don't have all that pension in the payroll. We did what we had to do. It would have been easy at that point to say, we need a property tax. And everybody goes, why didn't you do it then? Because we had the funds, we were able to stretch it out, but you could only kick that can down the road so far before you run out of places to kick the can. And then you turn into borrowing money. And when you borrow money, you have to pay interest on it. You heard that number, $26 million a year, one town is paying in interest. Really, think
interest.
about what they owe if they're paying that much in interest on bonds. And
Well,
then when the
and
bonds are ready to come
I
due,
did say, thanks to the village for being as fiscally responsible as you have for so long.
I've been up here for 19 years and with the fire district for 4 before that, and I'm proud of what I've done for this town. And maybe not everybody believes it, but I've never, ever, and never will put myself first. This town I love the people in this town. That's the most important thing to me, is the people in this town. I'm old, so when people tell me I'm old and I'm retired and I know what Social Security is. I'm fortunate that I own a business, but I have people that work for me. I have people that should have retired a long time ago to work for me, but they can't retire. I get it. They need the money. So, but thank you.
Like I say, I know you're in a tough spot, but we're going to lose residents. We're going
Trust
to
us
lose
to
residents.
do the right thing.
Yeah.
And not kick this can down the road and not do it again next year and come back for more money. Because we'll start cutting. If that's the case, if anybody on this side of the room or that side of the room thinks because we're going to have more money, that everybody's going to get more money and everybody's going to get more of what they want, big mistake. Okay? And I'll say that right to them as they all sit here, because that's not why we're doing this. And I know I'm not the only one. I'll be the first one to say it because I really don't care. But that doesn't mean that they could start giving their employees raises that work under them or buy new trucks this guy's always looking for ways to take an old truck and make it look new so we don't have to buy a new truck. And it is what it is. So that's my thing. That ain't gonna happen, okay? Remember, I said that.
Okay, we will.
Please do that.
Thank
I'm
you.
on television. I know exactly what I said. I can't go back and say I didn't say it. I'm gonna apologize to John. I really like John. I really like you, John, believe it or not. And I believe in you. I just think sometimes that when you're going north, I'm going south. I'd like to be able to go north with you when you're going north at the same time. Whatever that means, try and put it together. Because I think you come up with some good ideas. I think we just have a different way we come head on to each other instead of trying to work together. So if you'd have came to more of them meetings instead of sending stuff to John and voice your opinion, you might have been able to, give some more opinions, in which we would always open for. Thank you.
We've been
You're
on
not
the
coming
same-
back up again.
We've been on the same page before, we've gone in the same
I
direction
know.
before, and we will again.
Yes,
We will
exactly.
again.
Okay, anyone else?
Hello, my name is Anissa, and
Alicia what?
Anissa Baker.
Okay.
I just wanted to ask, Mary, I think you had talked about adding the police officers. Was it, we'd added 9 or something, or
9.5.
based on increased police calls? So that just raised a question in my mind. That's a little concerning that we're having more police calls, I guess, is our,
It's calls for service. So this could be alarm calls to businesses or to residences. It's not that we're having an increase in crime. It's just that our calls for service, people are actually listening to us, and they're, instead of calling our records department and saying, oh, I don't want to bother the police, they're actually calling 911. Our police are responding. But we also went through a very long period of time where we were running our shifts at minimums, and we couldn't do that anymore. It wasn't sustainable. So we had police officers that retired. We needed to bring police officers in so that we could staff to appropriate levels. And yes, while our calls for service over the last 6 years have increased, I think that's a really good thing, actually, because that means it's more interaction that we actually have with the public, and probably an opportunity to do some good, and maybe keep some, like Trustee Schwartz said, some of the riffraff out. But it was needed. We were getting to a point where our police department was way too lean, and if you had one more person call in sick, you didn't have enough people to cover the street, so. And it would be overtime.
so, and mentioning the legalization, I guess, of marijuana, I've gotten flyers in the mail, I don't know if they're true or not, about the statistics where crime goes up when it's legalized, so I'm thinking
Our
that can't be
deputy
really good
chief
news.
is shaking his head in the back of the room. So I don't think you're going to find any of our police officers that are going to agree with that marijuana is going to be a good thing for the state of Illinois.
I want to add, though, that Carroll Stream has been recognized as one of the top 100 safest cities in Illinois. So,
Anytime.
I mean, many
country.
times, so,
In the
I mean,
country.
in the country.
Yes,
So,
country,
so,
last 7 years.
again, I mean, I know you're like, oh, calls for the police, hasn't been, major crimes, but we're one of the safest ones in the country, thank you for correcting me. But, yeah, so we live in a safe community because of our police and residents who wanna, citizens that are, come to the Citizen Police Academy, they're volunteers. It's a community that comes together, and we're one of the safest, so.
Oh, that's encouraging. Well, let's hope that the marijuana thing doesn't make it any
And
worse.
I could be wrong, but I think if you took all of DuPage County except for Naperville, with their 150,000 or whatever it is people that they have, our police department wins more awards from all of Mothers Against Drunk Driving and all of the other state things. They give us a lot of money. People go, how can you spend all that money on North Avenue? Most of the time, it's grant money, because the IDOT loves what our police department does. They'll pay the overtime to go out there at 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock in the morning and arrest drunks going down the street. Or people that are
Safety
moving
checks.
drugs at 2 o'clock in the morning or 3 o'clock in the morning. I mean, so there's a lot to be said, but to me, the service we provide is to be safe. That's another service we provide. And if we need more police, we expanded across North Avenue. That was in the budget 10 years ago. Well, I wasn't even, no, 15 years ago. When we went down North Avenue, we got across to where John and Tony's is, that would open up another group, because we got the Park District there that's not really in Carroll Stream. We got the big church there that's not in Carroll Stream. But once we get to North Avenue and Morton, we will be able to annex them in. And that will mean that that's a whole new area that those police have to cover. So do we hire more police? Just like we will hire more public works if there's more work to be done and there's more things to do. And we don't do the streets ourselves. We have outside, we do contracts, and we go by bid and qualifications and low bid. Not always the lowest bid gets it, because it's not going to be good work. And if he contacts 5 other towns and 4 of them say, don't do it, they may save us money to do it, but we're gonna have to go back and do it over again, and once it's done and they get their money, we're never gonna see them again. So, but to me, when I dial 911 or when something happens, I've had a lot of people, especially the older people. We have a lot of older people in town, which is a good thing. They want to feel safe, dialing 911. If they know the fire department, I watch the treatment that these guys get, the fire department, from the older people. They know what it is to have somebody on there that understands when they're having a problem. The right person should show up with the right equipment to get the job done. And we're fortunate to have a fire department like we do. We're fortunate to have, we have a good park district.
Well, thank you. I just had one other comment. My brain was just mulling over the property tax and the fact that businesses, you know, I wondered about the fact of just having a business property tax. You know, if.
We can't.
It's not legal.
The first thing I come up with, and the lawyer at the end over there said, you want to go to jail?
Okay.
No, I don't want to go to jail. Because that's what I said. Why don't we just put it on the business instead of the people?
State
Can't do that.
statute, fair
State,
taxation.
I
Interesting.
mean, and that's what I mean when I say, if you understood everything, and that came out in a meeting someplace, I know that because I said, then I'm in the business park. Charge me more. Can't do that. So you can't, but I mean, our hands are tied. There's only certain things we could do. So, I mean, everybody thinks we can, I run my business. I can go in there tomorrow and fire everybody that works for me, or hire 30 more people and give them all 20% raise if I had the money to do it. And no one could say nothing to me. Here, this is, to me, is like a torture. That's all I could tell you.
Thank you.
One more thing, Anita, about, and it goes back to the police department and the hiring of police departments. We're still on the low end of our comparables for police officers per capita. So even though we've hired more, we were way, way low. We're still low on the low end of our comparables, so.
Same thing with our Public Works Department also. Per capita, we probably have the lowest amount of staff of Public Works Departments. So, one more thing I just wanted to address, brought up, overtime was brought up. For our police department, 25% of the overtime that our police department actually gets is covered by grant money. So we are actively going out and looking for grant money, as much of it as we possibly can. The one thing I don't know that we really covered tonight, and I know we covered it a lot at the other meetings, is this property tax is not to increase any of our services. We're not going out to buy new equipment. We're not going out to hire new people. This is to take care of what we have. This is to make sure that when our engineering department says, okay, we have a roadway project that is scheduled for 3 years from now, we have to start the engineering process today. Are we going to have the money 3 years from now? We have to be able to say yes. And right now, we can't, because we don't have the money down the road to pay for these projects. And I don't know if people understand, the capital improvement projects that we do, these are multiple-year projects. It can take 2 years to plan it. We have to put up money up front as we're doing the planning for this, well before we ever get to construction. So that's what we're trying to do, is we're trying to make sure that our 5- and 10-year plans are going to be fully funded. Because if it's not, then we're going to have to either cancel the projects, or we're going to have to cut services to our residents, and we don't want to do that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anita.
Anyone else? Last call. Anyone else? There being no other, is there a motion?
Motion to close the public hearing?
Second.
Moved by trustee McCarthy, seconded by trustee Gieser. Court call the roll.
Trustee Zalik.
Aye.
Trustee Baraka.
Aye.
Trustee Gieser.
Aye.
Trustee Frusaloni.
Aye.
Trustee Schwarzy.
Aye.
Trustee McCarthy.
Aye.
Public hearing is closed. If anybody wants to leave, they can leave now. We'll go on our regular meeting. And I think I have to call up Nellie. No? Thank you, Nellie. I apologize. I'm sorry.
It's okay, sir.
You couldn't have picked the worst night to come in, but
It's okay. My name is Nellie Jean Caleb. I live in 253 Allegra Lane, Carroll Stream, Illinois. I'm a proud mother of a sophomore from Glenbard North High School. Go Panthers! My daughter actually started a AAA, Asian American Association, Glenbard North.
Nice.
Very
We're
nice.
so happy. Yes. First of all, I'm actually I'm the administrator of In the Presence of Jesus Ministries. And we're talking about the recommend approval with approval for buying a property in Monarchy. We're part of the Monarchy West, the association. We would like to say thank you. During the last approval, there were like 4 who says yes and 1 said no. Thank you for letting us come in. I am very positive that you will approve it. Like what you said, sir, we bring people in, and I'm banking on that you will approve, to all of you, that you will approve us. We love Carol Stream. Thank you for giving us a home. We've been staying in Holiday Inn for like more than 10 years. The church doesn't have a place that we can call home, that we can call for consultation or house our children when we need to house them for certain Bible teachings. This is very important to us. So with that I said, I am saying in advance, and I thank the Lord for all of you saying yes to our church. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Oh, by the way, we also love to shop in Hong Ning. It's also part of Carol Stream. We go shop at Caputo. We're only like an hour and a half for our church, and after that, just like everyone, we go for lunch and we go to do our groceries. So majority of our members live in Carol Stream.
Well, we're a faith-based community, and I say it all the time, of middle class people. So churches are something, we have a lot of churches in town, and we welcome churches, so that I can tell you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Now, where's,
He's right there.
Warren?
You already spoke.
You already spoke, or you want to come back now and?
I would like to continue reserving my response, waiting
There you
for
go. I
the
figured
opposition
that's what
that
you were
I'm
gonna
sure
do.
is here
Okay.
for this matter. Thank you.
That's it?
Well, I'm reserving my spot after the other gentleman speaks.
That's it.
Oh, is there someone else?
I saw him here earlier, there he is.
Oh, I'm sorry, I don't have your name on anything.
I apologize.
I
I
apologize.
didn't know that I was supposed to put my name down.
That's okay, well, you know what, I don't run my meetings that way, take the podium.
My name is Jim Natter. I'm the Executive Director of the Central DuPage Pastoral Counseling Center at 507 Thornhill Drive in Carol Stream. I'm also the President of Mauna Kea, and as a volunteer, I'm President of the Board of Mauna Kea, who, ironically, I'm sort of the Grinch here because I'm standing in opposition to the In the Presence of Jesus Ministries application to come to Mauna Kea at Christmas time. On top of that, being the executive director of the Central DuPage Pastoral Counseling Center, it's like, whoa, what are you doing this for? Why are you in opposition? That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. So at the zoning board, I mentioned to them that I think that they're a great ministry. I've looked over their webpage. I'm very impressed by that. We voted against this because we wanted to see businesses come into the professional center at Mauna Kea. And a church at the center of that did not fit into what the board wanted. The way the lawyers saw this was that, wait a minute now, 1/3 of Mauna Kea has a separate board. And so they went to the West and they said, let's develop a president and a secretary. Let's have a vote for the church to come in. And I think the lawyers have looked at this and said that is appropriate, that's acceptable, and they presented it to the zoning committee, who said, yes, we will authorize this. I think it's legal. I don't think it's right. I think the right thing to do is to have the church be in Carol Stream, which I really think that it belongs here in Carol Stream. I just don't believe it belongs in Mauna Kea. If you vote and say, Jim, I disagree with you, I want them in Mauna Kea, I want you to know that we will accept them with open arms. We will do the best we can to take care of the property and to help them. I just wanted to stand and say that the way that the lawyers went about this in the way that they approved this and accepted this. I think, basically, I think they've used their ministry to make their own gains. And so I stand in opposition to that and just wanted to communicate that to you as the board. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Would you make sure that we get your name? You know,
I have it written down on that sheet of paper I put in the back too late. So I'll grab it and bring it up to you.
thank you.
Thank you.
He was one of the emails.
Oh, okay. Okay, Counselor?
Okay, well, we have an ideal fit here. We have the businesses going on in that Mauna Kea complex. There's 3 different associations. They have a master association. So the gentleman that spoke here is not involved in the West Association, which voted in favor of the church coming into that complex. That also has enormous parking availability, which has been the main objection that I spoke to earlier. I didn't hear any more about that, because that's a good fit. During the weekdays, the other businesses are there. They're using a few spots only because some of the buildings are vacant. So we're going to solve problems with curing the vacancy in Mauna Kea by having another business or church come in and you start using a building that's not being used right now. And then it's a good fit because during the weekdays, they have very minimal activities, so a few people here or there will use it. On the weekends, they may have 50 to 70 people right now. If they grow big enough, maybe they'll have a second service, but they'll still not overtax the parking availability because there's 132 spots. And 1/3 of the people there approximately are children going to the kids program, and the other parts are families where they used only 17 cars last time they had a service at Carroll Stream.
May I ask you a question?
Sure.
Is this a Sunday church or is
Yes.
it an everyday church?
No, it's a Sunday church.
Sunday church, and can you give me the hours?
The hours are 9,
10:30 a.m. to 12 noon.
10:30, okay.
So that's about the only time yous are gonna be there?
For a large group, for a larger group. During the weekdays, they're gonna have administrative activities, maybe some, a little counseling or meeting with people, so they're gonna, during the weekdays. But
So
during,
there'll be people there all
oh,
week?
yes, oh, yes.
But not like on Sunday when everybody goes to church?
Correct.
Okay.
That's when there'll be a large number of parking spots used. But the association has set up in their wisdom, they said everyone in there can use all the spots they need. So the existing businesses, of which I believe there's only 2, when you go there on a Sunday, like I have several times,
What are those 2 businesses?
one's a dentist, and I'm not sure what the other one is.
But they're both medical, right?
They're both medical, sir. They're Dr. Harrison and Dr.
Okay, yeah, and during the weekend, they're not there. They're not there on Sunday. The lot's completely empty. During the weekdays, there's only a couple of cars there. Again, 132 spots, using up about 5 cars during the weekdays, even if more businesses come in, which we hope they do. There's still going to be plenty of parking. And the point that's been made several times at the Planning Commission is that if there is some new use that would very much tax the existing facilities, then that could be brought up at that time, rather than speculate that there would be some unusual use.
So the zoning board, apparently, when they voted,
They voted to recommend approval 4-1. And there's a condition in the ordinance that basically says that the approval is based on all the information that's in your packet attached to the ordinance, the schedule of activities and classes and the programs they offer. And any expansion of that would have to come back before the Planning Commission and Village Board in the future. So if they wanted to add a daycare or a preschool, that would have to come back.
okay, you just said something about childcare, did you say that?
Yeah, they have, on the Sunday is when they have a separate room for children, not during the weekdays. Yeah, but they may have a tutoring program or something where some,
Does the zoning have to change for that?
Zoning wouldn't have to change, but they would need to come back in and get that. That's not an element of what they've asked for to this point.
I mean, is it zoned for a church to go in there?
That's part of the request is for a text amendment to make this use an allowable use in that district. That's correct.
Good, thank you.
any other questions? Hopefully I've covered the.
You may have questions when we pull it off the consent agenda and
Yeah.
speak about it.
No, I have no more.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm different, take the podium. And then, but I'm gonna give him the opportunity to come back. After you're done, so.
Be happy. One of the things that we did not look at and present to the zoning board. They did a wonderful job of communicating, this is the present situation, there's plenty of parking spaces. The vote in West, by the way, went to 6-2. The two people who voted against this were the two doctors who are still there. Everybody else is either retired or has not taken care of their property. Everything they've said is true up to now and in the past. We're looking at the future. The appeal is that the parking study would be done that if the property was full, we fill it up the other properties in West and East. And let's say they have a wedding or a funeral during the week. What then? Surely you're not going to turn around and say, I'm sorry, we can't bury you and we can't bury you. I think that there really ought to be a parking study done looking at the future, not the past. So I rest.
Thank you.
I understand where you're coming from. I mean, because most of our churches are freestanding, or they're using the school or using the, whatever, the Holiday Inn, and they have the ability to come and go as they please. But when you put them in the shopping center or put them in a building like that, I never even gave it a thought about a wedding or a funeral or where you bring a lot of cars in. That could make a big difference. So I guess, thank you for bringing that up.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Okay?
Ellie Jean,
Yep, you can come back up. Come on.
Thank you for having me again. May I answer to you regarding the funerals? We are actually 99% Filipinos, the population in our church. And how we do it when it comes to funerals, we don't do it in our church. One, because of course, Holiday Inn, you cannot do that. And if ever we have a church, we're not going to do it in the church. We prefer to do our funeral services, or shall we call the homecoming service, within the funeral parlor. I hope I'm using that right word. All because we know that when people attend the homecoming service, there are people that also are, who doesn't know the Lord. So we use that opportune time for evangelism, to talk about how good God is and that love conquers death. That's basically what we do. So we have no plans of bringing it in our church. When it comes to weddings, Filipinos as we are, we love banquet halls, and we do party. In fact, when we party, we not only we do our wedding services, we mostly do it in a banquet hall because we love people to come in. And when we prepare food, we don't prepare for the food that they will just eat. We prepare food for to go, to make sure they have food to go. That's how we do it. And we use all our events for evangelization. When we talk about weddings, we say, we thank God for having a couple coming together. In fact, sir, I was asked the last time when the planning board, they asked us, for the past 2 years, how many of our divorce care have we given? My answer was 0, because we never had divorce in our church. We kept families together by the grace of God. So to the answer for that funeral and wedding, that's basically how we do it. We use our events for evangelization.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Counselor, your last shot. You want one more? Are you done?
well, I think we had a lot of wisdom here earlier about bringing in people into Carroll Stream. That's a main source there of restaurants and shopping and everything else. And they have 50 or 70 people right in the middle of Carroll Stream. They're right on that road with the full-service restaurants. In fact, after the planning commission, they went to retire to Denny's, a couple hundred feet away from where they would like to have the church located. So I believe it is a plus to the community, and hopefully that will be approved then.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Is there a motion to establish a consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by trustee McCarthy, seconded by trustee Kennedy. Madam Clerk, would you please read what's on the consent agenda?
Certainly.
No, you have to call roll.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Roll call, please.
Trustee Zalik.
Aye.
Trustee LaRocca.
Aye.
Trustee Giesser.
Aye.
Trustee Frizzaloni.
Aye.
Trustee Schwartz.
Aye.
Trustee McCarthy.
Now, would you please read what's on the consent?
Certainly. Under Board and Commission reports, 1, Police Pension Fund Compliance Report Fiscal Year 19.
Received.
Received.
Number 2, Plan Commission Zoning Board of Appeals, A 19-0024, in the presence of Jesus Ministries, 393 South Schmale Road, zoning text amendment, special use permit for a place of worship. Recommend approval with conditions 4-1, with one member abstaining.
We're going to pull that off.
Off.
P 19-0031 Rental Max, 558 Randy Road, special use for outdoor activities and operations, storage of equipment, special use permit for equipment and machinery rental operations. Recommend approval with conditions 6-0.
Yes.
Yes.
C 19-0032 Rental Max, 124 North Schmale Road, special use for outdoor activities and operations, storage of equipment and installation of propane tank, special use permit for equipment and machinery rental operations. Recommend approval with conditions 6-0.
Yes.
Yes.
D 19-0033 Fiber Node Services, 525 Randy Road, special use for outdoor activities and operations, storage of vehicles and equipment. Recommend approval with conditions 5-1.
Yes.
Yes.
E 19-0034 Armbrust Plumbing, 381 Main Place, fence code variation, approved with conditions 6-0.
Yes.
Under staff reports and recommendations, number 1, addendum to Power Pay Electric Load Shed Program Agreement.
Yes.
Number 2, sanitary sewer condition assessments, award of contract for professional engineering services to Red Zone Robotics, Inc. at the proposed lump sum price of $866,196 to be paid out over 5 years at $173,239.20 per year pursuant to Section 5814A of the Carroll Stream Code of Ordinances.
Yes.
Yes.
Under ordinances, an ordinance providing for the levy and assessment of taxes in the amount of $7,474,461 for the fiscal year beginning May 1, 2019, and ending April 30, 2020, for the Village of Carroll Stream, DuPage County, Illinois. This ordinance represents the property tax levy request of the Village of Carroll Stream and the Carroll Stream Public Library for 2019, which will be collected in 2020. The village's levy totals $3.8 million and is the first levy of property taxes to support the village operations in many decades. The library's levy totals $3,674,461 and represents no increase over their 2018 levy. The estimated financial impact to the owner of a median value home having a market value of $231,400 is $232 village and $224 library.
Yes.
Yes.
That's ordinance number 2019-11-41. Number 2, an ordinance adopting rules and regulations for the Board of Fire and Police Commissioners as approved by the Commission on November 5, 2019.
Yes.
Yes.
As ordinance number 2019-11-42. Ordinance amending Chapter 16 of the Municipal Code of the Village of Carroll Stream, zoning code, places of worship as a special use in the B4 district.
That would have to come off
That's
with the
gonna
other
come off.
thing.
Right.
Number 4, ordinance approving a special use permit for a place of worship in the B4 district in the presence of Jesus Ministries, 393 South Schmale Road.
Also off.
Number 5, ordinance approving a special use permit to allow for outdoor activities and operations in the form of the storage of equipment and a special use permit for equipment and machinery rental operations in the 1 Industrial District, Rental Max LLC, 558 Randy Road.
Yes.
Yes.
Ordinance number 2019-11-43. Ordinance number 6, ordinance approving a special use permit to allow for outdoor activities and operations in the form of the storage of rental of equipment and a special use permit for equipment and machinery rental operations in the 1 Industrial Park, Rental Max LLC, 124 North Schmale Road.
Yes.
Yes.
That is ordinance number 2019-11-44. Number 7, ordinance approving a special use permit to allow for outdoor activities and operations in the form of the storage of trailers and vehicles in the 1 Industrial District, Fiber Node Services, Inc., 525 Randy Road.
Yes.
That is ordinance number 2019-11-45. Under payment of bills, regular bills, November 5, 2019 through November 18, 2019.
Yes.
Yes.
Number 2, addendum warrants, November 5, 2019 through November 18, 2019.
Yes.
Under report of officers, we have the treasurer's report, revenue expenditure statement, and balance sheet, month ended October 31, 2019.
Received.
Is there a motion to put those items on the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by trustee Swarzy, seconded by trustee LaRocca. Clerk, call the roll.
Trustee Zalik.
Aye.
Trustee LaRocca.
Aye.
Trustee Giesers.
Aye.
Trustee Frusaloni.
Aye.
Trustee Schwarzy.
Aye.
Trustee McCarthy.
Aye.
Is there a motion to approve those items by omnibus vote?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by trustee Geezer, seconded by trustee McCarthy. Clerk, call the roll.
Trustee Zalik.
Aye.
Trustee LaRocca.
Aye.
Trustee Giesers.
Aye.
Trustee Frusaloni.
Aye.
Trustee Schwarzy.
Aye.
Trustee McCarthy.
Aye.
So we have to go back to, we have here,
F2A, I3, and I4.
3 and 4, okay. So who pulled it off?
Mary.
Okay, trustee Frizzaloni, floor is yours.
Thank you. We've heard a lot tonight, and the reason that we pulled it off our consent agenda is because we just wanted to have further conversation. We did receive several email letters from some of the business owners that stated their objections to the church going in. So we really we pull it off because we want our community development director to just explain a little bit of more, I guess, of the process and what's transpired over the last couple of days, explain the zoning to us, because I understand that the concern is future, but we've also addressed that, if I'm correct, that if any changes are made above and beyond what the zoning commission has recommended, then the organization has to come back before the zoning board and file an appeal, or they needed to file a change, correct?
Right, yeah, they would have to basically go through this whole process again, file an amendment to their special use permit, and to get approval to add any new aspect that's not included. And you'll see in your packets, I mean, attached to the ordinance is basically their whole entire kind of business plan, their operations, everything they're gonna do there, the different kinds of programs they're gonna have. So that is all gonna be attached to the ordinance that gets approved if the board votes to approve this. So it's very clear what is part of their scope today in 2019, and again, moving forward, changes to that, expansion of that. If they wanted to buy the building next door and expand there, if they wanted to add a daycare or preschool, any of that stuff, they would have to come back before the Plan Commission and Village Board.
And I know one of in the letters that we received, the request was for a traffic study to be done. I'm thinking it's premature at this point. If you've already studied how many parking spaces are being currently used, I understand there's a concern going forward. And if going forward, the other part of the building becomes occupied by another business that comes in there, what is the parking situation then going to be?
So the parking for this area of Mauna Kea was originally designed, when this was exclusively medical offices, it has a pretty high amount of parking, a pretty high ratio of parking. With the change that they've made to open up the units to other types of uses, more general office uses, it actually ends up requiring less parking per our codes than when it was developed. So there should be actually more spaces available when these new tenants come in. And again, I think it's true that the church's use has that potential during Sunday mornings when they're having their services to have maybe a slightly higher amount of people than you might have in a standard office of the same size. The fact of the matter is that's happening on Sunday morning when most everybody else is closed. So just from a traffic impact and a parking impact standpoint, we just didn't think there was a concern there.
Oh, yeah, go right ahead.
Nellie, can I have you come up again? I'd like to ask a couple questions. So, and Don, is you as well. So right now, the parking is fine, and if there's changes in the services that they offer, that'll come back to the zoning board. But my question is, how long has this church been in existence?
Since 2000.
And how many members do you have now?
Right now, we're averaging 50 to 70 adults in a Sunday service, 50 to 70, 10 kids.
And how much has that grown, let's say, like over the last 5 years?
It has not changed so
It's been
far.
pretty.
Yes.
Okay, okay. So you built it up over the last 19 years, but you've been pretty steady for the last 5 years as far as, because my only question with the parking would be, if this continues to grow and say in 2 years, you double your attendance, but you
Yes,
don't.
we did, but though, because we've been in Holiday Inn, but before the church, we've used some portions in Glendale Heights. It has grown, then people move to the other states, so we've been
Okay,
up and
so you
down.
kind of do a little bit of that.
Yes, but now, the reason we want to come now and get it, because we saw the need of the people. When couples will have problems and they want to meet our pastor, I mean, it's better to speak to the couples, not in their own homes, but to speak in a neutral place.
understand,
Where they can voice out everything. So we saw that need. We saw also our children having that need when we need to mentor them, and not in their homes, but we can put them in the church and we can pray for them. This is very important to
No,
us.
I understand that,
Yeah.
I just was curious on how big it's grown over the last few years.
Yes,
So
yeah,
you're
so-
saying it hasn't really grown?
It hasn't grown. And if we grow, then some people will be, will be going to other states, so our numbers go up and down. Yes,
Thank you very much.
you're welcome.
That's all, thank you.
Any other questions?
More just a statement. I'd just like to say you guys both put on, very well thought out, but also very polite disagreement, we'll call it. And I loved your point of saying that, okay, if it is passed, we'll do everything we can to work together. And I just ask if this passes, that you guys, both sides, work up to that. Find ways to work with the current association, say, hey, how can we make this easier on you guys? There might be a few things that you as a church might be able to do that makes them 100% comfortable. It becomes a trust factor. So working together a little bit, I think, will help that.
Oh, do you have another statement?
Are we done?
Any other questions?
I have no other questions.
Mayor, you have two ordinances, you have to take them in order
Okay.
as they were on the agenda.
Okay, my paperwork is put away, so whatever.
You can't vote on them all together?
No, we have to do,
One at a time. I have 3, then I have 4.
well, we have to do F2.
F2A.
Do we have to, F2?
F2A is just the reports. You don't have to do anything.
Okay, so FC2?
And I'll make the motion that we approve agenda item I3. I'll make that motion.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, so clerk call the roll. Oh, I'm sorry. Trustee Swarzy and trustee Frizzloni?
I've got it, yes.
Clerk call the roll.
Thank you. Trustee Zalick?
Aye.
Trustee LaRocca?
Aye.
Trustee Giesert?
Aye.
Trustee Frizzloni?
Aye.
Trustee Schwartz?
Aye.
Trustee McCarthy?
Aye.
That is ordinance number 2019-11-46.
I'll make a motion to approve item I4.
Second?
Moved by trustee Swarzy, seconded by trustee
This
LaRocca.
is trustee McCarthy.
Trustee McCarthy.
That's it?
McCarthy.
McCarthy, LaRocca.
McCarthy and LaRocca.
Yes.
Okay. Clerk call the roll.
Trustee Zalick?
Aye.
Trustee LaRocca?
Aye.
Trustee Giesert?
Aye.
Trustee Frizzloni?
Aye.
Trustee Schwartz?
Aye.
Trustee McCarthy?
Aye.
And that is ordinance number 2019-11-47.
Okay, we're in the report officers, huh? Been a long night. Trustee LaRocca, it's all yours.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't have a whole lot to say. Everybody up on the board has said a lot of really great things about this village and what we stand for and what we do.
I want to talk about our staff. And our staff puts a lot of time in budget preparation. And John, if you would, how many budget workshops do we have? And when do they start?
They start as early as next month.
Pretty soon.
We used to, as the mayor alluded to earlier, used to be able to get through in 2 or 3 meetings, and now it's 6, 7.
6 or 7.
Usually, until you folks are really.
My whole point is that the staff does a really great job at running our village and preparing the budget. And the budget workshops gives the trustees an opportunity to review what they prepare. And they always do a great job. We talk about making cuts. Being a municipal employee on the staff side, cuts, nobody really wants to make a cut. I mean, it has to be really a dire emergency. If the staff is budgeting for something, it means it's needed. So it means we have to do it, and if we put it off, it's just going to cost more later on. I know from experience, we put off a project way too long that was a $453,000 project that wound up being a $2.3 million project. And that's how bad it can get. It can get that way really fast. So I have a lot of respect for our staff, and I want to give them their due because they do a really great job. And not only the administrative staff, but our boots on the ground staff do a really good job. I was going to touch on outsourcing, but it works in some ways, and other ways it doesn't. I'm not an outsourcing fan, but I understand when it's needed. So with that, I want to thank everybody for coming out and speaking their mind, having concern for the village. We all have a concern for the village, and this is a very difficult decision for all of us. And taxes are not really a good thing, but sometimes in this case, it's necessary. So thank you and have a good evening.
Thank you, Trustee LaRocca. Trustee Geiser.
Thank you very much. I just want to thank the residents and the staff and the board members for the last few months. As we've gone through this process, I think we've gone above and beyond to try to be transparent and try to share in a wise and communicative way to the residents of what could be coming and what ultimately happened tonight. So thank you for voicing your opinion. We're glad to hear it. And hopefully you'll continue to voice your opinion on things that are important to you within this community. What's important today, though, is what we did was now we have a dedicated funding source for a capital improvement program. So as Trustee LaRocca said, we will have money to make sure we can keep our roads up and keep up our infrastructure within the community. And that's a very good thing, and I think the residents will be pleased with that. Just a couple other things I just want to mention. I want to congratulate a resident, a student resident here in town. Kaylee Lynn Redberg was just named a Lincoln Academy Student Laureate by the Lincoln Academy of Illinois. They had a big ceremony on Saturday at the old state capitol in Springfield. The Lincoln Academy Student Laureates are recognized for their leadership, service, and extracurricular and curricular activities. And just want to say congratulations to Kaylee. Her parents were winners last year of one of the winners for the Christmas decorating contest, Paul Redberg. So congratulations to them. And that leads me to the next thing. The Christmas decorating contest is coming up. And Tia, how do you sign up for that if you want to nominate a home?
Please send the homes that you'd like to nominate to decoratingcontest@carolstream.org by 5 p.m. on December 16th. Judges will then go out and by approximately December 20th, will look at the different locations and submit their votes.
Thank you very much. That's my report. Have a great week, everyone.
Thank you, Trustee Geiser. I know you're not feeling well, but I want to thank you from me to you. Thank you for being here tonight.
Certainly.
It's a tough night, And I know you're not feeling well, but thank you for being here.
I'm happy to be here.
Trustee Suarez.
Thank you, sir. I'm just going to echo what everyone has said so far. Thank the residents for being out here and sharing their passionate, educated comments about the property tax. Thanks to the staff for working so hard, and really thanks to all the people up here. You know, we're all in the same boat. We all live here. We all have to answer to the people, and we had a hard decision to make, and everyone up here is up here for the right reasons, because we love this town. So thank you for doing the right thing. And I just want to remind everyone that November 30th is Small Business Saturday, so please shop in Carroll Stream.
Thank you, Trustee Suarez. Trustee Zalik.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Of course, thank all the residents for coming out during the workshops and today, because I think they love Carroll Stream as much as we do up here. I want to thank Mr. Salerno and Mr. Hildebrand for their generosity, for donating money. And the week before Thanksgiving is American Education Week. The National Education Association, or one of the creators of this, and in 1921 called for designation of 1 week each year to spotlight public education. The American Education Week gives everybody the opportunity to celebrate public education and honor individuals who are making a difference in ensuring every child receives a quality education. Some experts say that parents need to be more involved, and being involved means reading to children, checking homework, limiting TV and electronics, and communicating with teachers. Tomorrow is invite parents to school day. My kids don't know, my boys, but I will be attending a couple other classes, so I'm sure they'll be thrilled to see me in the back of school. Wednesday, I look forward to attending my very first DARE graduation since being elected to this board with other members of the board. So I want to congratulate them to all their accomplishments. Finally, I see a new program being started with the police department, registering your security systems. I'm also seeing a lot of ridiculousness on Facebook, absurd, about how Big Brother's watching and spying on residents, and Big Brother's watching everything you do. It's ridiculous. So I called the police department, and they put me in contact with Deputy Chief Zocker. Could you please shed some light on the uninformed individuals on Facebook?
Our camera registry program is best thought of as the Modern Neighborhood Watch. And it's a voluntary program where you let us know that we can contact you and see if you or your camera system saw anything that would help us with public safety and investigations. And it just makes things much more efficient. And what would happen is if you register your camera, we contact you and say, hey, we had a issue or a problem in your neighborhood. We'd like to know if you caught this or that on your camera system. You then check your system. If you had it and you want to share it with us, we'd arrange to get that material from you.
So it's not like you get a password, and when the officer is bored after his lunch and he's just curious on 123 Main Street, he can't just log into that camera and watch stuff.
No, we would never have any access to your camera system. We can't operate it. We can only work with you to retrieve that.
Excellent. I just wanted that out there because it was comical to see some of the, and I don't know if they were just trying to stir the pot or if they really don't know the reality of this program, but I think it's a good program, and I think it could help you guys help residents solve crimes.
I think so too, and we put my direct line on the registration page along with my email. Anyone that has a question can contact me directly.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
That concludes my report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Trustee Zalik. Trustee Fruzzoloni.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I kind of want to piggyback this new program that we're doing. A couple months ago, there was a very serious car accident a block from my house. And I mean, this was probably the perfect example of when the police really needed to see footage of what happened, what was the timeline of this particular individual that was in our neighborhoods, and my neighbors were doing this. They were going door to door. Hey, I know you have this Ring doorbell, or I know you have this video system. Can you check and see? And people were coming with their iPads to the scene of the accident. They're going, look, I think I caught something, that could be helpful. And I think it did help the investigation. So I think this is a great program. And I think that it would just, in today's technology, I think this could do more good than what people are posting their technology catching on their doorbells on social media. That is probably not the most appropriate. I don't need to see any more coyotes. Big surprise, Carol Stream has coyotes. People are posting things to shame people, which I don't understand that at all. There was a lot around Halloween, people shaming children for taking candy out of a candy bowl. This can actually help people, and this can actually help save lives. And if it helps our police department, I'm all for it. Public safety is exceptionally important, especially in today's world. So thank you for piloting this. I think it's a great program. And as soon as we can figure out how to get our Ring doorbell registered, we will do that. I want to thank our residents. This has been several months of difficultness. I don't know if that's a word or not, but it's a word that I'm using because it's been a very long day and a very long night. A lot of people have been very emotional about this property tax. We've heard the good, we've heard the bad, and we've heard the ugly. We've seen people at their best and we've seen people at their worst. And I think this is a very emotional issue. While I want to say thank you so much to our staff, I mean, John, how many times in the last 3 weeks have I emailed you and even said, John, I have a question. I know it's Sunday afternoon. Do not respond to this email. I'll be very upset with you if you respond to this email. Talk to me on Monday. And in 10 minutes, he responded to me. I reported him, by the way, to HR. Staff has been so receptive to every single question that we've had, every question that residents have had, from the smallest of details to the most complex. We don't know how to read a tax bill. Can you tell us how to read a property tax bill? That has been absolutely fantastic. So thank you for the hours and hours and hours. But the hard work starts now. Just because we voted to approve this tax does not mean that we don't have a lot of very, very hard work ahead of us. We've had our integrity challenged. We've been told that we have mismanaged the village's money, which we know that we have not. So now we have to prove to the residents that not only did we pass this tax because we needed it, but we're going to be using it for the very best purposes and only use what we need. I've said this before, I'll say it again. This village board is going to be the role model for the other taxing bodies. We don't feel entitled to this money. We feel privileged that the residents of Carol Stream voted for us to make this decision, and that they're going to allow us to take this money and to use it very wisely to help our community. Lastly, I just want to thank our families. This has been exceptionally difficult on our families, all of our families, our spouses, our children, our extended families. This has been very personal. Our families have seen things on social media that have been said about each of us, and I know that's not difficult, or I'm sorry, I know it's difficult to watch that and to try and take a step back and be the support system that we've all needed through this process. So I just wanted to thank our families, because I know we have not been easy to live with, because this has been a difficult decision for all of us. So with that, I will end my report.
Thank you, Trustee Fruzzoloni. Trustee McCarthy.
Not that easy to live with. My wife said that for 20 years. It's got nothing to do with the last couple of months. I'll just ditto everything everybody else said, and thank everybody. Also, with the end of Halloween, of course, I've been a little off grid the last month, so I want to thank Tia. I want to thank our clerk Laura and her husband Paul. They've been collecting our Christmas candy that we'll put into stockings, and Tia's got everything else, the toys and stuff ordered. So it's much appreciated, and thank you for everybody who's also dropped it. Apparently, we've got a bunch here already of candy that's been dropped here. So no looking, John. But I want to thank everybody who's kind of jumped into my place and helped everything get taken care of. And we'll get all those stockings stuffed at the beginning of December, December 8th to be exact. So just thank you, everybody, and that's the end of my report.
Welcome back. Madam Clerk?
I don't have too much to say, other than it's wonderful to have the donations given for our DARE program. The kids are our future, and we really need to take care of them. And also, the residents are absolutely wonderful with something just as simple as asking for your leftover candy from Halloween. Not only have they offered up all of their candy, people have gone out and bought candy, people have gone out and bought toys and lots of stuff. And I just want to say how absolutely wonderful and giving our community is. And last but not least, just always keep our military and first responders and their families, because they do go through a lot. If you could just please keep them in your hearts and minds, and remember them this holiday season. Thanksgiving, there's a lot of servicemen and women that will not be home with their families, and their families will miss them greatly. So that's the end of my report.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Mr. Rhodes?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The veto session ended this week, but I will postpone talking about that till next meeting. And I just have to say happy Thanksgiving to everyone here on the board, all the staff, and all the residents of the village.
Stole my thunder. No one said that. That was going to be my line, but thank you. See, you're always thinking. Joe Carey, thank you for sitting in. I got to be honest with you. This is your first full blast of being under fire. I mean, if there was the worst time that Bob could have took off, he did, but I'm sure he felt comfortable with you sitting there. And I will have to say now that I felt comfortable the way you handled it tonight, and I want to thank you. So now you can give your report.
Well, in addition to being financial stewards, we're also stewards of the environment, and on December 2nd, the Carroll Stream will be recognized by the B20 Club. That's thanks to Phil and the Public Works Department around the village to enter that club, and that recognizes organizations that are committed to the use of biodiesel fuels. So that really is a testament to our work as being environmental stewards. In addition to that, I want to congratulate the West Chicago soccer team for winning the state championship. I know we've reached out to them to invite them to attend the village board meeting, and we are awaiting their availability for that.
Nice.
Also, as a reminder, our village offices will be closed on Thursday and Friday for the Thanksgiving holiday. In addition to that, garbage pickup will be delayed one day, and that includes a free leaf pickup, which is occurring next week as well. And also hard to believe, but on December 6th, coming up, is our tree lighting ceremony. That takes place at 6 p.m. at the town center. And then last but not least, be safer on turkey burners in the next couple weeks or so, and have a happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you, Joe. Well, I guess a lot of people kind of got my demeanor through this last 2 or 3, 4, 5, 6 meetings that we had. I like to say exactly how I feel so everybody knows right where they stand. It makes it a lot easier for me to just let it out and get it over with. There's been a lot of things said. We had a lot of people come in that had a lot of misinformation, and a lot of people came in that had a lot of good information. And I appreciate that. I never, ever have walked away from a resident, no matter how unhappy I am with what they have to talk about, I listen to them. And I try to be courteous. Sometimes it gets where you don't get courteous with me, and I can't be back nice to you. It's a two-way street. But I thought this really went well tonight. It went long. The people that were here had plenty to say. I feel bad for the people that were on the agenda that had to sit there till 10 o'clock to get up and talk, but it was important. And now it's behind us. And was it easy? No. Was it something we had to do? Absolutely, because it would have never happened if it wasn't an absolute necessity. And now we'll go from here and make the best of what we got to work with, and just hope that the state doesn't figure out ways of making it worse for all of us, because that's been the history. It isn't here, and I heard a lot of people say it starts here, it doesn't start here. We end up with it here. It starts down in Springfield and Washington and Springfield, and we end up with it, if we like it or we don't like it. So unfortunately, we get stuck with a lot of what we don't like. Thanksgiving is coming. That's I hope everybody has a good Thanksgiving. We'll be doing, the charitable group I run with, we'll be doing this weekend. We pack 600 boxes with about 50 to 55 pounds of food in each one, and they all go to food banks and shelters and all different kind of places. So we're doing it right this year again in Glendale Heights, and I'll be bringing back to Carroll Stream 20 60-pound boxes of food for one of our food banks, and then I was able to get my hands on some stuff that I'm going to be going this weekend, it looks like, to Heinz Hospital to give boxes of turkeys and fixings to 25 soldiers. So
That's awesome.
I've become, for some reason, there's some people that have been really strong with the military, that have military backgrounds, and they have come to me, and we have become good friends. I do a lot of fundraising, and they're part of my group that I run with, and we all work together. There's 230 of us, and about 30 of us do all the work, but it's okay. We raise a lot of money, we give a lot of scholarships, but this is a good time of the year when we know that we're going to give away between 35 and 40,000 pounds of food to people that have nothing to eat. We used to take it to the house. We would pick 5 or 6 people. I can't do that. I could do it, but I can't do it. It's not, I can't do it. So we let the pastors pick up stuff. We let a lot of the organizations pick the food up, and then they know where it has to go. Lutheran Church of the Master has been one of my favorites. They get between 15 and 20 boxes every year, all the turkeys, and the people are waiting there when I get there. On that Monday, they're usually waiting in line to get their turkey, because that's, Thursday is Thanksgiving. So I'm very proud of the work that I do with my group and my family. So this has been tough. It's taken a lot out of me, and I think Trustee Fruzzoloni couldn't have put it any better. All of our families have been, it's been a toll on all of us, but it was something that if we really didn't believe had to be done, it would have never happened. And I mean, it wasn't an easy decision to make. It never is an easy decision to make when you're making rules and changing everything for everybody. And that's exactly what we just did. Cat's out of the bag. We approved Rental Max tonight. I don't know if anybody figured it out. Rental Max went right in, right where Ditch Witch used to be. Took both buildings. They'll be my neighbor right next door to me. So that's a good thing, because they do produce sales tax. I want to thank Don for working on that. However we did it, it was a great job. I know Earl made a word. He told me that he gave me his word that he would try and find somebody to go in there before he moved out, and he got him to buy both buildings, correct? And they closed 2 or 3 operations that they had at other places to move it all into Carroll Stream. He was very happy here in Carroll Stream and didn't really want to move. But when your business grows the way it does, and those are the things we get criticized for. You let him go after all them years. It isn't that I let him go. I didn't want to. I felt as bad as he did. I can say that Earl sits on the bank, or did sit on the bank for West Suburban Bank when I went on the Water Commission, and Water Commission was a total disaster. And we borrowed $35 million, and Earl called me on the phone and he said, I'm a bank director at West Suburban. Frank, I want you to tell me that they're good for that $35 million. I said, with my whole soul. And he borrowed us the $35 million at about 0.5% back then. That was in 2008. I mean, it was a disaster what happened there. And from that point, we were able to clean up the mess, and now we got a lot of money in the bank, and Water Commission don't owe anybody any money, plus they abated the sales tax that was on the water, which was about $30 million a year. That's a lot of money to save the residents of DuPage County. So good things happen when you work together. If you've got people you could work with and trust, and I feel here, this is like my family. This is now my family, the way I look at it. And on both sides of the aisle here, we all work together for the same reason, and I appreciate that. We all work for the same thing, is to make the residents of this community a better place to live and raise their kids and work and enjoy life and go to church and do all the things they should be doing. So I want to thank you, the staff, for all the work you put in. Our new acting chief, thank you very much for coming. It's been a tough thing on me, what's gone on. Thank you for filling in. You have been phenomenal to work with. I know everybody looks up to you, and you come with credentials that are impeccable, and thank you. So appreciate that. And thank you to our police department, our 2 deputy chiefs in the back. Thank you for everything that you do. So with that, motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting's adjourned.